John, just give me Okay.
Welcome back to the Big Deal podcast. I'm Codie Sanchez. And I found out something fascinating the other day, which is that 87% of you guys, people who watch our episodes, are not subscribed to this channel. So I have an ask for you all. If you could subscribe to the channel, this is the way that we grow. We can have bigger guests. We can hire the right team members. And it's only really through you guys doing this one simple thing. So if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, can I ask you a favor this week? Can you hit that subscribe button? Thank you. Truly, we can't do this without you. You've built sleeper businesses basically as a career, it feels like. You know, crazy side hustles, then grew them into actual companies. These are cash flow producing, non-venture backed companies. Almost anybody could start if they were willing to take the risk and do the hard thing of actually working them. Is there one that you're like currently obsessed with now? Or is there like a business that you're obsessed with at the moment?
Man, it's like asking which kid is my favorite. I just love business. So so I was in Cameron, Missouri last week, population 8,000 people. I pull into this hardware store and I see this cute couple, 30s, kids out by the road selling pizzas, right? I have like an outdoor kitchen with an authentic pizza oven. I geek out over it. And so I had to talk to these guys. They've got like a $700 pizza oven, a $100 like a pop-up canopy, and they're just slinging these authentic pizzas. And so I'm like, how much money are you making here? And $700 a day. Their kids make the pizzas, they wave signs. And I said, well, what do you pay? They're in the parking lot of a hardware store. What do you pay to be here? Well, nothing. Like, they just hope that we can bring them customers and they bring us customers. This is like middle of nowhere, middle America, right? Like, and they're making $700 a day, 80% margins, selling pizzas from an oven that they bought at Home Depot, right? Like, I just love stuff like that because who couldn't do that? Like, who couldn't do that business if they really had to make some money?
Isn't that wild? And if you just like, for people who aren't, who are public school math kids like me, I mean, if you take, let's round it to 1,000 times 30 days in a month, we're talking about that's a $30,000 a month business.
Yeah.
If you have 80% margins, we're talking about you're taking home a top 1% level salary, $200,000+.
But how many people in Cameron, Missouri are saying, oh, there's just no opportunities here?
I know. You know what else kills me that I think you prove a lot and is like one of the missions of this company? It's like your shirt. You can just do things. And in fact, I think you'll be shocked by how often people don't charge you.
Yeah.
Like we did this whole experiment with vending machines where we put vending machines in a bunch of different locations. And then we did videos about them and shared the numbers. And everybody was like, you left out the rent. I'm like, I didn't pay rent.
Yeah.
I know that you can theoretically, and you might have to sometimes, but like I just didn't in this case. And so I love that story. I was curious for you, is there one business that you've seen like ever that you're just like, this business is such a sleeper and almost anybody could start it?
So a year ago, we own a tree trimming business, right? And tree trimming businesses are great. I call it a binary outcome, right? The customer needs a tree gone, you show up, the tree's gone, 5-star review, invoice paid, right? Whereas other businesses, it's just like custom home building. It's not. There's so much that could go wrong. But stump grinding is kind of a pain in tree trimming because, if you're a tree trimmer, you've got a truck with a chainsaw, and if you got to grind the stump, it's like, I got to go to the rental place, put it on my trailer, gas it up, pay $300 to rent it, charge $300 to grind it. It's just a pain. So I was talking with my business partner about this, and we thought, I bet there's a world where you could be a business-to-business stump grinding business. And that wasn't really a thing, right? So we're just riffing on this on my podcast, and as an experiment, because I'm curious and I have to get my questions answered, right? So I scraped every tree trimming business in Houston, and I'm in Dallas. And so I wanted like a sister city that was comparable. And I hired a virtual assistant to call up every tree trimming business and say, hey, who grinds your stumps? Do you own a stump grinder? Do you rent them? theoretically, if you could ever outsource that entirely to a stump grinding business that only served tree trimming businesses, would you do it? If so, what would you pay? And the results were incredible. Like 20% of these tree trimmers would love to outsource it. And so we were just talking about this, and people went out and started business-to-business stump grinding businesses based on this theory and research. And this one guy made $300,000 his first year. And he rented the thing, and he rented the trailer, and he wasn't wealthy, but he's making like 60-70% margins grinding stumps for these tree trimming businesses.
I love it. Well, boring businesses that's my love language.
Yeah.
But what I think is interesting is two things. One, it doesn't take that much to get the research, right? You literally just cold called, or in this case, because you have an assistant, had somebody else cold call a bunch of people and ask them 3 or 4 questions. And the other case of the pizza company, you just were willing to do the thing most people won't, which is, how much revenue do you make a day?
Yeah.
Like, how often do people not give you the answer to that question? I'd be curious.
Rarely, honestly.
Right?
You just have to ask.
I would say it's like 95% of the time they tell you. And why? Because they're proud of it.
Yeah.
Like if you've ever ran a business and you know what it feels like to actually get somebody to pay you for your service, how hard it is.
Yeah.
You want to tell people.
Yeah.
I am old now, and so my back has been hurting, which is so on par. And so I go to this PT. And he was telling me a story about his background. And I'm like, that's incredible. And I started telling him the percentage of businesses that actually hit 100,000, then 1 million, then 10 million a year. It's kind of rare, actually. And so he was like, can I tell you my revenue number? And I was like, yeah, tell me, what is it? He's like, 310,000. I'm like, that's amazing, because you don't have any employees either, right? So he's got an 80% margin business.
Amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, with your tree trimming business, when did you start that?
2 years ago.
And how much cash did you have to start it with?
I had cash to start it with, but I grew up poor, right? And so I always like to say constraints equal creativity. And I've never been VC funded. I've tried to raise money. It's a lot harder than people think. And so I've been forced to be creative, right? And that's never left me. Now to this day, like, I can afford to do certain things, but I'm so cheap and or willing to be creative that I don't have to. So with the tree trimming business, I had a truck. I found a young, hungry entrepreneur that had just graduated from college, and I knew how to start it because I had helped a friend do it as a favor a couple of years prior. And so we didn't own a chainsaw. We still don't own a chainsaw. We just found subcontractors and subbed it all out to them. And so
can you explain what that is, subcontractors, that people don't know?
Yeah, so we just found tree trimming businesses that did the work themselves. And we just said, hey, we're going to quote $1,600 for this. What would you quote? $800. Okay, cool. We're just going to mark up all of your quotes to us 100%. And we'll take that margin. We'll bring you jobs. We'll keep you busy. Cool.
Yeah, that's wild. And now how big is that business? Do you share the revenue numbers?
Yeah, I mean, we're doing $500,000 a year.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And this is you and a kid who was in college?
Yeah, he's the operating partner.
And how old is he now?
He's 23.
Wow.
Yeah, he had no experience in the industry.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And do you think, what's the formula? So let's say somebody right now has no money, or they've lost all their money, and they want to go out and start a business. What is the formula that you need to be able to have a cash flowing business that you start?
Yeah. Well, you can't have no money and pride. That doesn't work, right? So you have to be willing to work, and you have to be humble enough to go ask people for things or to go sell. If you have pride and you're broke at the same time, I don't know what to do for you, right? So the formula is to be curious about the world and to answer those questions you have about these potential opportunities immediately, right? You're familiar with habit stacking, right? If we want to do 20 push-ups every morning, we should probably do it right after we brush our teeth, because pairing those two habits together makes us more likely to do it. So I'm only kind of connecting the dots looking back. I didn't do this intentionally, but as I look back on why I've started so many things, it's because I genuinely love commerce, business, entrepreneurship. And so I'll go to a restaurant and wonder, man, how much are these guys doing? And then I'll answer that question immediately. I pair the habit of getting the question with the habit of answering it. And then that kind of trains me to act, to have a bias for action. And then if you stack that up over years, you end yourself having started 75 businesses, and it can get a little stressful, but it's very fun.
That's okay. You could kill some babies, right?
Yeah.
Or sell them. That's my preferred method.
That's right.
God, I've started and bought so many businesses. And it's why we stopped saying how many businesses we own. Because I'm like, if I say 30 today, I know that 2 of those businesses I'm probably going to sell.
Yep.
I might close another one. And it started to feel like not very authentic.
Yeah.
And then also, it's not always a good thing to own 26 businesses.
Yeah.
It's probably better to own 1 or 3 that are way bigger
I agree.
than 26. So I was like, people think it's cool. I'm like, man, something's always going wrong. So it's not, just start with 1, just 1. So if, in that instance, I'm sort of curious, like you started this business with this guy. How did the guy like show that he was competent enough to be your operator? So if like somebody young is watching this and they're like, man, I want to go pitch Chris or Cody or whatever rich person I know on a business to start.
Yep.
What do I have to present in order for you to say, I'm going to give you 50% of this company?
Yeah. I kind of regret what I'm about to say, but it's the truth. So I've noticed a direct correlation, you probably have too, between the people that have just gone all out to get my attention and then their performance after I hire them or partner with them, right? Whereas some reach out kind of half-heartedly.
Yeah.
And it's like, sometimes I've hired them in the past and it was just, they kind of did a half-hearted job. But the people that are like, just blowing me up everywhere. Like, I will do this. I will do this. Like, I promise I'll be your hardest worker. I don't know anything. I'm humble, but I'm willing to do all the work. That was James. He had never had a home service business. He had like flipped iPhones on Facebook Marketplace, but he was just hungry. And so I like to look for humility, gratitude, someone who's like, I'm just so grateful for this opportunity, and some sort of an entrepreneurial gene, right? Because I don't want to make them entrepreneurial. They have to have that. If they have those 3 things, then it's almost 100% certain they'll be successful.
Yeah, I always loved the Munger quote where he says, if you're going to have a mistress, pick an old one because she'll be grateful for it. And I think that it's true of business partners too. He used to, describe Buffett as the best thing that we have in our partnership is we're both grateful for it. I think that's true in marriage. It's true in business.
Absolutely.
And so if you could optimize for intelligence, history, sophistication, or hunger and gratitude, go left, not right. Love that. Okay, so let's say that there's somebody listening who has 0 time on their hands. Maybe they actually have money, but they don't have time. What business would you tell them to do, or what would you tell them to start?
That's a good question. I would say that they should start liquidating things. Buying things from like Costco Overstock. There's a half a dozen websites out there that sell pallets of returned items, defective items, or items that might be perfect. You just don't know. Like you could buy a pallet full of Blackstone grills for $100, right? So someone like that has some money to buy stuff like that, and it doesn't have a lot of time. They can start by selling a few things on the side, learning how it all works, and then partnering with someone like James, my business partner in the tree business, to do it for him. But I think it's very important that you don't outsource things too quickly. You really got to get in the weeds so you can recognize the weeds before you get out of the weeds, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I do think it's really hard to hire well until you've done well.
Yeah.
And so first do good, then hire good. I think that's a really good point. Yeah, and you kind of have highlighted all these different businesses. I want to go over some of the best in the works. We actually took one of your ideas off of Twitter. We didn't give you enough credit for it. So we got an internet duel. But and we did it here in the office.
Yeah.
And we basically, the idea was, can you buy things off Facebook Marketplace and have AI do everything for you? And my too long didn't read at the end was like, no, like you got to, there's some human
Still
in the
early.
loop. Yeah.
Yeah.
But for people who are entrepreneurs and hungry, I think both you and I, it was like, this is wild.
Yeah.
Like once you start to play the game, you realize just that 20% off your stack is so valuable.
Yeah.
So if like right now you had to look at all the side hustles, all the businesses that exist, what do you think are the 3 best, most underrated side hustles?
Okay. All right. So you say right now, I'm going to take that literally. So we're in August, and I came across this woman last year who decorates porches with pumpkins. Have you seen that?
Oh, yeah, it's not because of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Dallas chick, wasn't she?
Heather. We've since become friends. And she's making over $1 million a year just buying wholesale pumpkins from someone that anyone could Google and find a wholesale pumpkin supplier. Buys them by the truckload and decorates them on porches. And it's a beautiful business because it's so visual. If you put your iPhone on a tripod, put it on time lapse, post that to Instagram, the algorithm loves it, right? So there's all your customers. And that's what she's done. And she does an amazing job, and she's an amazing hard worker. So I'm not downplaying like, it's just a good idea. Anyone can do it. It's very profitable. She charges between $600 and $1,300 to decorate a porch with pumpkins. I'm a customer. My wife loves it. And I love this opportunity because you could start with almost nothing, an Instagram account, a little money for pumpkins, and then you can make it not seasonal. She prefers for it to be seasonal. She wants to be with her family during Christmas. But there are people that do this for Christmas decorations. I talked to a guy in Pennsylvania that does it for front porch flower decorations. He charges a few $100s a quarter, and he'll swap out flowers every month.
I'd pay for that.
Yeah. And he's in Long Island. This stuff would work anywhere. And it's very visual. It goes viral very naturally. That's one, because it's high margin, it's unique, and you don't need a lot of money to do it.
You know what the other thing about that one is? When you don't have a lot of money, you don't realize how much money other people have.
Yeah.
And that they want, like, the thing about rich people, they want to spend their money.
Yep.
And so I remember when I was broke and poor, the idea of some mom putting $1,300 to put pumpkins on their front yard in Dallas would be crazy. And then you drive in Highland Park and you're like, these bitches, they spend a lot more than $1,300, right?
Yeah.
Like Dallas decorations are another brand, but every state has city centers like that.
Yep.
So that's really smart. Okay, so first we're going front porch decoration.
All right. So I met this guy in Utah that this is a business you could literally start with no money. And I mean that genuinely. As long as you have a friend with a truck or a trailer, and you have some humility, like we talked about, he goes on Facebook Marketplace and he buys washers and dryers, or he'll get them for free because people give them away all the time. They're moving, their lease ends tomorrow, they got to get it out, right? And then he goes back to Facebook Marketplace and rents them out for $100 to $200 a month to people that live in apartments, that have hookups, that don't want to buy it because they're afraid it's going to break. He rents them out, and he's making 6 figures a year. Working 5 hours a week. He has another company. He has an RV park. He's doing all kinds of stuff. This is just one of his businesses. But what's more approachable than that? Like, you're going to have to carry a washer upstairs. It's going to be hot. It's going to suck. You're going to have some that get stolen from you. But find me a business that doesn't have problems. Right? I'm still waiting for that one.
Find me a job that doesn't have problems. Let's go low level. Okay, I like it. What do we think about the third one? I like also that there's one that like women are going to do. You're probably not decorating pumpkins on a porch. Your wife might though.
Yeah.
And then your wife is probably not schlepping big machines.
Yep.
But you might.
Yep.
Okay, what's our third?
Okay, so HVAC companies. They have these service contracts, either commercial or residential, where they check in every 6 months, make sure everything is working. Part of that contract is they have to clean the coils on the outside of the units. That's just like a preventative maintenance. But that's a pain for them because you got to have water. You got to hook up water. You got to have chemicals. And it just doesn't go into their normal workflow. So this guy that I met, he owned a pressure washing company. He started doing that for HVAC companies and saying, I'll just do all your coil cleaning. And then he got a grocery store customer just by walking into the grocery store. Can I talk to the manager? Who does your coil cleaning? These guys, but they forget sometimes. They hate doing it. It's the worst part of their job. But that's another good framework, right? Find a business that does something, find the things that they hate doing, and just kind of unbundle that, right? So now this guy, his whole business is washing the coils outside of these grocery store HVAC units. And he says that he never loses a customer. It pays him, I think it's like $500,000-$600,000 a year in this random rural area that you would never think this opportunity exists. And he's like, this is my secret weapon. Like, and he's owned a bunch of businesses. He's like, this is the best business I've ever had.
That's so interesting. You know what else is true also? You go up the ladder of entrepreneurship. And so when somebody's like, that's a terrible business, which I hear sometimes. I'm like, maybe for you, if you're making $1 million a year and you're a software engineer, probably not a great business for you. But like one of my favorite businesses back in the day was a podcast production studio. I bought part of it. It was great. It was a service business. Actually, the podcast production was all remote. So it was just like you ship in the video edits and they would edit for you, thumbnail, title, et cetera. So I owned part of that business and then I sold it back to the owner at some point. People are like, why? If you're making a couple $100,000 a year in a business, why? It was just too small at that stage. And so, but for Jonathan, the guy who took it over, he still runs that business. He loves that business. Yeah. And he's really happy at the level. He actually doesn't want it to grow. He's like, $500K a year business, perfect. Like, I don't want anything else. And so I think people underestimate how there's like, not everybody has a size 10 shoe. You're
12 and a half.
What? You're tall. That's big.
right.
Yeah, it'd be kind of weird if you had a size 6,
Yeah,
you know?
it'd be weird.
Yeah, I can't let the internet know that if that was the case. It would roast you. Okay, let's talk about worse businesses. So if you like had no money again, or were just starting out, but we're going to save people decades of mistakes and hours, what are the businesses that you would never touch with a 10-foot pole?
I'm going to talk about binary outcomes again. Okay. So, oh man, I had a third-party logistics business once. And basically e-commerce brands would come to us and we would store their products in a warehouse, pick, pack, and ship them out for them, right? We were doing $400,000 a month and not making any money. It was a miserable business because it did not have binary outcomes. So the business owner, our customer, was like so emotionally invested in his inventory. Hey, I did that big sale. Why haven't they shipped yet? Hey, these went to the wrong address. Hey, my inventory went stale because maybe it was food. Are you keeping track of these expiration dates? There were hundreds of things that could go wrong. And literally, if you click the wrong thing, you could ship 3,000 packages to 3,000 wrong homes. Ask me how I learned that, right? And those aren't our packages, which makes it even worse, right? Yeah. So we were making all this money top line with no profit, losing money, right? It was not a binary outcome. It's not a simple business. We were competing with like Amazon. Who's going to do that? So anything, like I've started 75, 80 businesses. The common thread between all of them are just non-binary outcomes. Too complex, not simple.
Yeah. Okay. So worst is 3PL. What's your second and third?
Oh man, house cleaning.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Why house cleaning?
It was just a lot of ways to screw up. It was.
I guess same thing.
Yeah. There's a hair, you left a hair on the floor.
Oof.
Or you scuffed the baseboard. No, we didn't. That was there first. Like, all for $150, you know? Yeah. Like there are businesses where that stuff is worth it. Yeah. Right? Where like those headaches are worth it. But if it's low ticket and complex, stay away.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree with that. What's the third?
Custom home building.
Oh, yeah. Did you ever do that?
Yeah. Well, I had a business partner that was a custom home builder, and he branched off, and we started starting one together, and that was like headache to the extreme. Right. On one hand, you have a homeowner that's putting their life savings in something that they're going to live in forever. These were nice homes, and on our side, we had permit issues, weather issues, subcontractor issues, insurance issues, so many things that could go wrong. And I've built a custom home for myself. I've been on both sides of it. Stay away. Like high ticket, but even at like $1 million home, it's just not worth it.
What price point home do you think it starts becoming worth it?
Multiple millions.
Yeah. I think that's almost the secret in every business is that if you're not, it's not if you're not good, but like, you have to have enough margin in the business to be able to deal with all of the headache from mistakes.
Yes.
And like more margin, more you can handle mistakes.
Yeah.
Like you're like, all right, you pay me enough for that, right?
Yeah.
And so I think, I have a couple of friends that are custom home builders, but they're at the $10 to $12 million mark. And at that amount, you're making millions of dollars on every home. You're like, sure, Nancy, the tile's wrong. Ship it back to Italy. No problem, right?
Because your margin affords it. Yeah.
Right. But if you're doing it on $1 million home, which to young Codie, I'd be like, that's so much money.
Yep.
Not in home building, it's not. So you actually can't get compensated enough for that. And that's the real magic of entrepreneurship is getting enough reps where you can kind of just look at a business and go, oh, that's not going to work that way.
Yep.
And the only way to do that is just to get in the game, right?
Yeah, you got to, and stay in the game.
Yeah, and keep playing it. The richest people in the world didn't just build, they bought. They didn't come from riches. They used other people's money and a ridiculous amount of sweat. People will tell you you can't. Yet didn't you know there isn't a multi-billion-dollar business out there that didn't do some type of acquisition? Amazon, 110 companies bought. Facebook, 96. The Sage of Omaha himself started buying a gumball route. They didn't listen to those who said they couldn't. They found aging owners, made connections, took risk, repeated. Today, the hardest thing to do isn't buy a company. It's start and keep a profitable business. Around here, we don't hope and pray for profits. We buy them. Real businesses, 56,000 of them, real profits, custom deal box so you can swipe left and right at your pleasure, maps find businesses close to you, off-market deals where no one else is even looking. This is how you become an owner. Let's talk about, dude, I heard a ridiculous story of yours that you're like, which one?
It's probably true.
About Texas snacks and the Buc-ee's heist.
Yeah. Oh, heist. That's a good word. I like that. So for those that aren't familiar with Buc-ee's, it's a chain of gas stations. They do billions of dollars a year from 50 locations, right? It's just an amazing business, privately held. And it's an amazing brand. It's like a Disney, right? They have a great brand. And so I went there 6 years ago, and I walked in and with my cousin, who's also a business nerd. And we were like, he said, he's like, do you know Disney sells like, I'm making this up, I don't remember the number, but like 15 billion a year of shirts. Yeah. I was like, I didn't know that. That's crazy. I wonder how much these guys sell online of their shirts. So we go to their website, and I distinctly remember there's no shop button. It's like, where do you buy these shirts? And these gas stations are in these far-flung rural areas. And so you can't get to it unless you're going down to the beach, right? And so that was just like a light bulb moment. And it was at this time that I was running that fulfillment business. And so we thought, wow, we need to get them as a customer. And instead of just like fulfilling their products, we're going to bring them online and fulfill their products. This could be a white whale for us, right? So I start reaching out to the executive team. No response. So we're like, what if we just try to get their attention by launching the business for them, and then just cold emailing reporters and saying, Buc-ee's won't answer us, so we're going to launch this business for them. Good. Yeah. And his first question is like, Chris, we're going to get sued. And I was like, that's going to be a good story though. Right? If we get sued, then we can just say, okay, leave me alone. I'm done. Exactly. I'm done. But I was like, but what if we don't get sued? It could be a big business. It could be a big partnership. It could be tens of millions of dollars. Who knows? And so my business partner and we bought one of everything from the store near my house. It cost about $3,000. I hired a photographer for $200. We took pictures of everything in their store, put it on a website, cold emailed reporters and said, we want to get Buc-ee's attention. So we're selling everything that they own online for them. And they said, that's a great story. We had a dozen news outlets write about us, and we went viral and did $200,000 of sales in our first month. And we do millions of dollars a year now, 5 years later.
You're still doing it today?
Yeah. It's a great business.
I bet. So you're the one responsible for all the Buc-ee's merch I now see all over the country.
That's right. We don't have like an official partnership with them, but we have an understanding, and they support us. They help us buy it in bulk, but we just resell it. We go to one of their stores, we load up a box truck full of pallets, bring it back to our warehouse, and sell it online, ship it all over the world.
That is insane. Yeah. So you're not even actually their like licensed provider?
Nope.
That's so Texas. Yeah. I love that. They're like,
Texas.
Yeah, fuck it. You're going to buy it at a full price. Go ahead, man.
Yep.
Oh my God, that's so good.
I like doing things where like worst case is a good story.
Yeah.
Because most people don't have good stories, right?
That's such a good way to think about it.
Yeah.
Because that is the game of entrepreneurship.
Do it for the story. Someone put that on a t-shirt. Do it for the story.
Yeah. I think the kids say do it for the plot. I think that's what the Gen Zers say today. That's what my non-Gen Zers in this room say. But they, I think you're right. You know, a lot of times, I'm sure you get asked this question too. Well, I want to create content and be on the internet. So what do I talk about? I'm like, if you want to be interesting, you got to do interesting shit.
Yeah.
So before you get online and like try to talk about a bunch of stuff you haven't done, go do the thing.
Yeah.
Because you're not suffering from stories.
Right.
Why? Because you're doing wild things all the time. Yeah. I'm trying really hard to get one of our portfolio companies, Pinks, and they're a window cleaning company. Mm-hmm. They have an incredible brand. And I'm trying to get them. I'm like, all the dudes are good looking, right? They're like good looking, young, wholesome guys. I'm like, we need a sudsy calendar. Like, I think it would kill it. You know what I should do? Do their photos without their permission and put it on the internet. You should. I'm going to say, Chris, maybe do it. But I laughed with them because, we're moving into commercial. So they do a lot more commercial work now, but they do a lot of residential. Mm-hmm. And that usually goes through the lady of the house. Yeah. And there's this like idea of a cute pool boy that's already been created in the zeitgeist, right? You don't exactly go, God, my window cleaner was a real looker yesterday. Yeah. That's not like a thing. But with this company, you kind of do. So we've played into it slightly with the marketing, and it's funny and it's cute. Yeah. And most of these guys are like Christian, married, super wholesome, but they do it for the plot. They like don't take themselves that serious. Yeah. And so the two founders, you have like, I don't know, 170 locations or something now. And their one business does $3 million a year, just like their Austin-based business. Mm-hmm. But they're doing kick flips and, putting ridiculous thing in their Instagram because they don't have a lot of ego about it. Yeah. They're not too precious, and they do it for the plot. Do it for the
so
story.
good.
All right. Somebody make a shirt for Chris.
Do it. Yeah. Do
Yeah.
it
We'll wear it on the podcast. All right. Did you get into, tell me.
No, I was with the pinks, guys. I have an idea, so I got to get it out.
Tell me.
Yeah. So you should make those calendars.
Yeah.
Because that would be viralable.
Wouldn't it?
Right? It would be so
thank
good.
you. I thought so.
And then you should take your whole customer database and find commonalities by the zip code of like what type of, they probably already know this, but like our average customer has a $732,000 home. We charge $350 a quarter. That's $1,400 a year, and they stay for 5 years, right? So $7,000 lifetime value, right? Okay, what would we pay to acquire that customer? Let's say $500. What does it cost to print and ship a calendar? Let's say $20. Okay, worst case. They should scrape all of the homes that fit that criteria, the demographic of the owner, the race, the gender, everything, and permissionlessly ship them that calendar for free.
Such a good
And
idea.
they're going to hang it, and they're going to look at that Pinks logo every time they see it.
And they're going to put it on Instagram.
And
They're
they're
going to
put it on
tag that
Instagram,
everywhere.
and that $20 could return $20,000, right? Why wouldn't you do that?
100%. Well, that is the thing, I think about it a lot here at this company. So I'm in finance. So, I bought companies, I sold companies. I never really thought about marketing. In finance, you don't do ads.
Yeah.
You don't market.
You can't really.
You can't. There's all these regulations about them. And if you do, you have to keep them for 7 years. It's kind of a crazy thing. And so now that we've come here, I've started to really appreciate that most marketing is so boring.
Yeah.
It's so
bad.
boring. And I get why, because it's embarrassing when you put your face on YouTube and you're making a stupid face and you're like actually slightly more sophisticated, fingers crossed, than you are portrayed on the internet.
Yep.
You can have ego about that. Or you can be like, do I want to look rich or do I want to be rich?
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
You got to make a choice, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm like an extreme introvert. I don't like going
way.
out. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
I'm posting these videos in the comfort of my own home, but going outside is like not for me. And so like the thought of short form videos was just like so foreign to me.
Interesting.
But there's a whole world on the other side of cringing at yourself, right? Because at the end of the day, like no one even cares.
Nobody cares.
Like the guy at church or your neighbor who sees that video of you talking about, he doesn't care. He's not thinking about you. No. So just do it.
Yeah. One of my best mentors ever told me, there's somebody who is dumber than you are, has worse products than you are, isn't as good as you are, and they're making more money than you do because they're willing to sell.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, thanks, Bob. But he was right,
Yeah.
Okay, I want to talk about, you just have so many stories. I want to run through a bunch of these companies, and hopefully for, if you're listening online, I think the thought is, like, take these as these little moments of inspiration, just like you did. You're like, oof, what about this?
Mm-hmm.
So it might not be that somebody's going to go pitch Buc-ee's and create a whole t-shirt empire, but it might be like right off of it, like slightly asymmetric,
Yeah.
So I want to talk about pet cremation because that's the obvious next thing you go
Uplifting
to.
topic.
Yeah. That's awful. My dog's here. Hide the dog.
It's so hot
from
right now,
Chris.
by the way.
Is it really?
Cremation, so hot. Right. I had to.
Is that a dad joke?
I have four
You have
kids. Yeah.
I love a dad
had
joke. Okay, let's talk pet cremation.
Okay.
What happened?
I had a friend that worked in private equity, and he had seen the inside of some deals, some pet cremation deals that looked really, really good. 92% gross margins. We have more puppies in the United States than children today. As of 2 years ago, like the line officially crossed. More puppies than kids, right? So extract from that what you will. But there's an opportunity there. Everyone bought puppies during COVID. Those puppies are 5 years old now. And unfortunately, they will die. And cremation is exploding in popularity. So I like to look for businesses that ride several tidal waves at once, several trends, right? And so you've got the puppy boom, you got people buying puppies, you have people preferring cremation for whatever reason, and then you have my friend that had an inside look into the industry. And so that same friend, luckily, also had a friend that was a veterinarian that owned a very high volume clinic. Like he did as much business as 6 clinics, right? And he was able to say, hey, if we start a pet cremation business, would you work with us instead of who you're currently working with? Sure. So we just kind of had that relationship. And so we started looking at these burners, and they're like $100,000 to $300,000 each. And then we thought, oh, man, I don't usually do that. I don't put hundreds of thousands into businesses, right? I'm scrappy. And so we thought, okay, well, what if we could just play middleman and just have a refrigerated van where we just play puppy logistics, if you will, okay? Pick up the puppies, puppy pickup, and then deliver them to the cremation facility that's already invested $500,000 into equipment because they want to be in the cremation business, not the logistics business. And that's one thing that we learned. We interviewed a few of them and say, what's the pain point in your business? Something we've already talked about. And they said, sales and logistics. What if we do both of those for you? My friend had another friend that had been acquiring veterinarian clinics. So he had contacts in the industry. So he said, all right, there's our sales. Here's our first customer that's worth 6 customers. Put the pieces together. Let's spend $15,000 on a refrigerated van, and we're in business. And so we capture a margin between the cremation facility and the veterinarian.
God, that's so smart. So it's almost like you see an opportunity in an industry and you go, okay, what's the most direct route? Okay, well, cremation. But then you say, my constraints are I want to spend less than $50,000. So if I can't get into that aspect for $50,000, where can I find just part of the business? So instead of taking everything from I'm going to get the lead for the puppy to I'm going to deliver the puppy to I'm going to cremate the puppy to I'm going to have a certificate I give the family or whatever, I'm just going to take this step. And because I only take this step, it doesn't cost me all of this to start it. That's really clever. It's like breaking down the business to the chunk you can afford.
Yeah. And the thing about that step that's a headache to them is if it's all you do, it's not a headache. Because all your systems are built around that one thing. So it's a win-win for both parties.
Yeah. And so you're basically doing the opposite of what most companies do, which is like they might do vertical or horizontal integration where they go buy these things. You're saying, let me do the opposite. Let me remove a portion of somebody's business. I can build an entire stack on it. And then if I want to add on and compete more, I can. But in the beginning, I get to just start.
Yeah. And now what we can do is we can go the vet route and go into clinics and sell them. Or we can go to the cremation facilities and say, hey, I know what your margins are, because I know the business. What if you give us 30% of that margin and we'll take care of all of your headaches, right? So you can streamline your operations. You can net out ahead, even though your top line revenue comes down, and it'll be a win-win.
Yeah, I love that. Also, it's so much easier to start a business when you can sell to people who are already doing the thing that you want them to do. It's really hard to create an industry. For instance, we try to talk people into this idea that we should not let these businesses die, that you should buy them, and that you should do it creatively. You shouldn't always have to go to the bank and be a millionaire to do it. It's not easy. It's hard. There's lots of components of it, but it's totally possible. The problem with that is you're like talking them into a change in lifestyle. It's actually not a very good business. It's like more something that I just think we should do. But if instead you're going to a business owner, they already have the pain point. They already have the cash to solve it. All you're doing is removing work from them. Like that's a really interesting model. I typically don't think about businesses that way. So I like that.
Cool.
The funny part though about pet cremation, to your point on like people don't realize what people pay for. Like what does it cost to get a pet cremated?
$250 to $500.
God, my dad's going to kill me for this story, but when my favorite dog died, he was obsessed with the dump truck. Like, you know how the trash truck, the dogs and shit. And so he died, and his name was Elvis. He was this amazing little Cocker Spaniel. And so, my dad told me, and so I came by the next day. I'm like, well, where's Elvis buried? What happened? And he's like, oh no, I took him to his favorite spot. And I'm like, what do you mean by that?
What does that mean?
Yeah, and he just put him in a bag and gave him to the dump truck. And I was like, I think that's illegal. I think that's right. He was like, he would be thrilled. He'd be barking happily all the way to the dump, his favorite place.
You're just like staring into the abyss.
Oh, I just was. I know. It's such we're Latino. They're like, they don't understand things like cremating a dog for $500. That's like not part of the equation. Okay, let's talk about RV parks. So I think a lot of people are interested in this idea of, I call them like low people businesses, vending machines, laundromats, car washes, RV parks. All of them have like a version of the business that could be low people. Then they have a very high people version of it. You own a bunch of RV parks and got into it. How did you get into that business? Break down the economics of it. What's most interesting about it?
Yeah. So, and I've done both ends of that. Small RV parks with no employees and large RV parks with a lot of employees. So I was buying single family homes back in college. And then I moved to Texas and I met some guys they owned hundreds of single family homes, but they had just been introduced to mobile home and RV parks. And they basically said, Chris, you've got to look at this. Instead of having 12 homes across a metroplex in 2 hours, you can have 12 homes all on the same 2 acres, and each one of them is more profitable than those, and it costs like a third as much as all of the single family homes. So you have the efficiencies of them being all right there. It's the lowest form of affordable housing, so it's recession resistant, and they're easier to manage. And you don't have to maintain the unit. The tenant owns the unit, so you just own the land. So I'm like, why do people even buy single family homes? Like, I don't understand. Is this like the world's best kept secret? And so we partnered up and we started buying these small RV and mobile home parks across Texas and Oklahoma, 10 to 70 pad sites. No amenities, mostly long-term tenants, and where the tenants own either the RV or the mobile home, and we just maintain the infrastructure. And we did that for 2.5, 3 years.
What would each one cost you to buy those?
Yeah, so
parks?
Between $100,000 and $1.5 million.
Wow. And what kind of margins are you making on that? Like, how much money are you getting in your pocket from that?
It's like 30 to 60% cash on cash returns.
Yeah, that's wild.
It's insane.
Does that still exist today, or has a lot of that? It does.
No, it does.
Yeah. Because a lot of people say those days are over.
Yeah.
You can't find X business like that, Y business like that. Is that true? And if it's not true, then why can you still find those? Why are people not buying them up?
So the founder of 1-800-GOT-JUNK has a quote that I love. And he says that as long as pianos weigh 800 pounds, we're going to be in business, right? And so as long as RV parks are ugly and forgotten and hard, or at least they seem to be hard, there's going to be an opportunity there.
Yeah.
I've been saying since 2018, since I've been in the business, like, oh, private equity, they're coming. And they're coming after the $10 million parks.
Yeah.
But private equity doesn't care about $100,000 or $1 million or $3 million park.
No.
So there's opportunity there.
Yeah, it's the same with buying businesses.
Yeah.
They literally, if you want to sell your $3 million business that has 30% margins, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's super hard. And now we know we own like the biggest, depending on how you do it, let's call it the second biggest behind business buy sell marketplace for small businesses. And man, there's so many good deals on there that nobody's buying.
Yeah.
And we're getting like 10 to 12 new listings every single week. And we've only been around for a year. And some of these businesses, it's like a business that does $160,000 in revenue a year. Let's call it $50,000 in profit. And they want to sell it for $50,000.
Yep.
So it's all around. What about, actually, let's do this really quick. So somebody's listening and they're like, I would love to own. Like, I would love to just feel like an owner of a business and buy a mobile home park for $100,000 to $200,000 and like get there. What would be the couple things you'd tell them? Don't buy mobile home parks unless you do this.
Oh, that's easy. Wastewater treatment plants. I don't know if most people never heard that phrase, but a lot of parks treat their own wastewater on site. And that is like major red flag. You could get shut down by the government, like stay far away. A lot of the best deals you'll see have those for that reason. So stay away from that. You want to think of a barbell. On one end of the barbell, you have no amenities. I did that 7 years ago. It was great. That means you don't have to have a manager. You could manage, one person remotely could manage a half a dozen parks, as long as he's on site every quarter or so. And then on the other end of the barbell, you have amenity rich, pool, pickleball, horseshoes, you name it, water slides, everything. That's a great place to be. That's what I'm doing today. I'm a partner in a fund, and those are the parks we buy. Hundreds of pad sites near national and state parks. It's harder, but bigger, and bigger numbers, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to be in the middle. If you buy a park with a pool and that's it, then your insurance is much higher. You need someone to be there, and they're only there for the pool. You don't want a kid to drown, right? Yeah. So you don't want to be in the messy middle, like either no amenities or all the amenities.
So you once started a crypto project with John McAfee, who is easily, I think, the most eccentric, paranoid, and wild entrepreneur, maybe of all times. He founded and sold McAfee antivirus software, investigated for murder in Belize, and later returned to the U.S. where he ran for president not once, but twice. I think there's a whole Netflix documentary about him. Is that right?
That's correct, yeah. So it was like 7 years ago, or 8, I don't know. But crypto was going crazy, and I was getting involved because I'm, always distracted. And I had kind of found this math equation that helped me predict the price of cryptocurrencies. And it was very simple. Here's the whole secret, okay? I found a way to measure how much hype cryptocurrency had. How many people were talking about it on Twitter, Reddit, Facebook. And I put that into a number from 1 to 100. And then I used public websites to find out the market cap of the cryptocurrency, how much it was worth. And then I just divided the two numbers. So if there was a cryptocurrency that was very big, very popular, but people weren't really talking about it, my algorithm division told me it was going to go down in value at some point. Or if everyone was talking about something and it had a small market cap, then it would go up in value. So I started investing my own money in this. It was working. And I felt like I had just discovered like Newtonian physics or something, right? I was like, this is huge. I'm going to be so rich. This is amazing. But this was like years before I ever started publishing content. I had no following, no audience, no rich friends, nothing. And so I thought, who's the biggest name in crypto? John McAfee. He had like 1 million Twitter followers at the time. And for better or worse, he was the biggest name in crypto. And so I thought, if I could just skip the line, right? Constraints equal creativity. If I could just partner with him and get him to buy into this vision that this works, then I could do something with this equation, build a community or sell access to it for a monthly fee or raise a fund and invest the fund's money into it. I got to get his attention. Problem is that he founded a security company. He's very private. He lives on a compound with bodyguards. So I started guessing his email address because I couldn't even find his email, which is pretty easy to do. I couldn't find his. So I'm trying like jm@mcafee.com, John at McAfee, John, and it was just bounce back. Finally, I had a notification. It was opened. I'm like, okay, I found it. He didn't respond, but I found it. So then I just start blowing him up. John, I'm really onto something here. Some guy in Texas, he doesn't know who I am. I'm nobody. I'm onto something. I think finally he responds, and I still have these screenshots. So this was January 24th, 2018. As long as it is a live demo, as I said before, I will not even look at history and will throw you out of house if you bring it up. Even if you have HD video showing God coming down from heaven and exclaiming that you are legit, I will still throw you out of the house. I want a live demo of your product that accurately projects the future. Otherwise, I will be seriously pissed off. Can you pull off a demo that predicts prices the following day, 48 hours from today, and 1 week from today? If you can do that, then please come. If you cannot, even with the greatest excuse God could provide, then do not come. Put it in the history books.
Oh my God, I want to use that line. David, the amount of times I'm going to say to you now for things you want to pitch me, even with the grace of God.
That's right.
I will never dance on the internet. Yeah, that is so good. Okay. What a fucking great email save too.
And I was like, John, just give me an hour of your time in person. And he said, okay, I live in Lexington, Tennessee. Be at my house on, I think it was February 28th at 1:23 p.m. And if you're there, I'll give you an hour. And he said, I'll give you my address the morning of. Whoa. So I'm like, okay. So I fly to Tennessee, I get a rental car, email him that morning and say, I'm coming, John, what's your address? No response. I'm just going to Lexington. I don't know where he lives, right? There's like 40,000 people there. John, I'm coming to Lexington. Finally, at like 1 o'clock, or like 12 o'clock, he emails me his address. So I pull up to this house. It's like this old Southern style neighborhood. And there's one like Spanish style home with like a Hummer and like a Nissan Versa. And it's just like, if anyone lives here, it's John McAfee, right? All these crappy cars. And I knock on the door, and you know that scene in Home Alone when like they're about to leave to Paris and it's just bustling activity and everyone's running. It looked like that. There was an Australian film crew in there, multiple bodyguards with guns on their person, and then John and his wife, Janice. And he's like, who are you? I'm like, John, like, you just gave me your address. He's like, I don't know who you are. I'm like, Chris, I have that. He's like, oh, Janice, sorry, this guy thinks he can predict crypto. I don't believe him. I'm like, we're off to a great start. This is awesome. I'm glad I flew to Tennessee for this. So he's like, come in, we're going to the liquor store. I'm like, okay. And I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I've never tasted alcohol. He's like the opposite of me, like in every way except entrepreneurship, right? So he's like, come in, sit down. So I sit down at this breakfast nook and everyone leaves as soon as I get there. And I'm like, what? Okay, this is weird. And I'm looking at this table and there's like hard drives and laptops. And I'm like, okay, this is like the most secure person in the world. There's probably $100 million worth of Bitcoin on that hard drive. And he doesn't know who I am. He's just, what is happening? Long story short, I end up hearing someone there. One of his bodyguards was there. He's like, oh, nice to meet you. He's very nice. He's like, tell me why you're here. And I spend like 30 minutes explaining how this works. And he's like, I don't get it. I don't get it. And I'm just like, great, this is just a total failure. And so then everyone comes back. John sits down. He's like, all right, Chris, you got an hour. So I open up my MacBook. I start talking and he's like, do you mind if this film crew films this? I'm like, oh, okay, sure. So they start filming and I'm like halfway into my second sentence. And he's like, this is brilliant. Of course it works. Why wouldn't it work? It's just all hype. You're just dividing the hype by the market cap. What do you want from me? And I'm like, wow, this guy gets it. And so I'm like, let me give you a quarter of whatever it is that we build, and you tweet about me twice per week. I'll tell you what to tweet. We'll build something. And we shook on it. And I spent the day there eating Mexican food and hanging out with him. Wow. And then we started a business together.
And what ended up happening with the business?
Oh man, this was 2018, right at the start of crypto crashing from 20,000 to 3,000.
Oh yeah.
But we started a cryptocurrency that we gave out for free, and it reached a $30 million market cap. And we built a community with 70,000 people in it. We planned conferences, and we became friends over the course of 2 years until it all just kind of fizzled out and died.
Wow. So basically crypto crashed and that just killed the whole business.
Yeah. We were just swimming upstream for we launched at like the worst possible time.
Wow.
I still have his voicemails saved on my phone.
That's wild.
Yeah. I can't delete them. I just can't.
Chris, John, McAfee. I'd like to chat for a little while, but to
it goes on and on. It's like 2 minutes. It's this idea to like start a business giving away free crypto to like strippers and mimes.
Oh my God.
And he's just rambling. And it's like, it's funny, but it's like I leave rambling voicemails like that. Not while on coke, but it's like we have the same entrepreneurial brain. His is just like plus coke, you know?
And strippers.
It's strippers and no morals. Yeah.
Wow, that is wild.
It's a good story.
What a story, though.
Yeah.
Okay. I think there's kind of two other things I want to go with. One is you've obviously met a ton of everyday business owners who have gone from nothing to a couple 100,000, million, $2 million businesses. Mm-hmm. Everybody talks about the world's greatest founders, but what have you noticed just in your millionaire founders that you've met? What is different about them than everybody else?
Yeah. They have an insane bias for action. They just move fast. Yeah. And not like to have first movers advantage just because that's just how they operate. They're impatient, right? Which could be seen as a flaw. It might be a flaw in their personal life. I don't know. But they're just insanely curious and impatient, and they pair those two things together. And sometimes it gets messy and things fail and things explode and bankruptcy. But over the long run, they just win. Mm-hmm. If they don't quit, they stay in the game, they just win. Until
you actually get in front of people who are moving, like billionaires. Like most of the billionaires I've met, I'm just like, oh my God, once you've made a decision, it's just tidal waves of movement. Mm-hmm. But I've struggled to try to get like a formula for how to explain if you are fast or not. Like if somebody said, all right, Chris, create for me the algorithm of, am I fast or am I not in my life? What would be the inputs? How could one tell if you really were a person who biased for action?
That's a good question. I've noticed like the best employees I've had work fast. Mm-hmm. And that's not something you talk about with employees. You talk about productivity but they just like, if I give two employees the same spreadsheet task, one of them has done 10 minutes, one does the same thing in 3 hours. Yeah. Right. And so I wish I had a formula of like how to train that. Maybe it can't be trained, but like, you know what? Maybe the commonality is you truly love what you do. Mm-hmm. Like I love what I do so much. I'm sitting at the MacBook typing away and I got to go to the bathroom. I'll run to the bathroom and there's no deadline. No one's around. No one cares. Right. It's just an email I'm writing or something and I'll run back. Yeah. Just because I genuinely love it and I want to be doing more of that. Going pee is not fun, right? I want to be doing that thing. And so that kind of forces me to be fast. If I'm researching a business or launching a business, if I do it faster, then I can do more of it in a compressed time period. So maybe you could make an analogy to like a hobby or something that you love. Like if you love going to the beach, you might speed on the way to the beach. You might spend more time there. You might be really creative or efficient at finding your way to the beach because you love it so much. Yeah. So just take that same principle and apply it to whatever it is you're doing. Yeah.
Do you have a way to screen employees for their speed?
The only way I've found is just 30-day trials for everyone.
Yeah.
And just saying on day one, statistically speaking, this isn't going to work out. Nothing against you. You seem awesome, or else we wouldn't even be doing this. I'm just looking at numbers. 30% chance this works out. So on day 30, let's put it on the calendar right now. We're going to have a talk. No hard feelings. It just probably won't work out. And if it's the right person, that conversation will put a chip on their shoulder, right? Because that chip can be very heavy. And some people get that. Some people just don't have that gene. It offends them and it drives them, like it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy and they don't work out. Some people are like, oh, okay, we'll see. I'll be in that 30%. And that's the guy or girl that I want.
Yeah, did somebody ever do that to you?
Oh, everything I've done is because of some stupid comment that someone made, or like it's chips on my shoulder. Like it's everything. I'm sure you could.
I'm the same way.
You could refer to
everybody says like, don't build angry. I'm like, wrong.
Yeah.
There's no greater fuel than being a little pissed off.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, and if you're religious, talk about like righteous fury, like that is a real thing.
Yeah.
And, you don't build the irrational thing that is a big business because you're like, I kind of don't care.
Yeah.
I just feel nothing.
Yeah.
And I like stumbled my way into this business. I just don't believe that.
Yeah.
I think you have to build it through like a force of will that is unreasonable.
Yes.
And that often comes from being really pissed that something doesn't already exist.
Yeah.
And so, I'm not the right person to talk to about like work-life balance or, being really reasonable on everything. I'm like, no, we got one life. And at the end of the day, I want to be able to say we made an impact.
And if you enjoy it, then, right?
Yeah.
Like as much as I love my mom, I love you, Mom, but I didn't become successful because she believed in me so much, right? I'm glad that she did. I believe in my kids. I became successful because some stupid guy in college is like, you're not going to do it. You're not going to make it. And that guy probably doesn't even remember that I exist. It's so silly.
Yeah.
But if you're able to harness it, then it's not silly.
Yeah. I used to I have like a little screen. I bet I still have the screenshot from when I was in finance. I was a partner at a finance company. And, we had grown really fast, my division, and one of the other division heads basically didn't like that I was starting to bring a lot of this stuff online. It was pre-contrarian thinking, but I still thought that in the future, investing, a lot of it was going to be done through a version of online marketing. I was like, I think steak dinners as the only way of business that's not this generation.
Yeah.
And they disagreed. And so I remember he sent me an email. I think he was a little liquored up. It was like late at night. And the email said, I hope you gained more followers today because you've dumbed down our business.
Oh, wow.
And I remember being like...
You probably remember exactly where you were when you read that email.
Yeah, I remember where I was. I remember how I felt. And I remember being like, thanks, man. I needed that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so like, be really careful, I think, also with like the fuel you put into other people.
Yeah.
Because you might not realize enemies can be powerful too.
Yeah.
And so, I've learned that lesson also. Let's talk about that for a second. Like, you've done 75 businesses. You have to have gotten lied to, cheated, defrauded. Like, what's the worst thing that's ever happened to you in entrepreneurship?
Man, we could have 4 hours of conversation. Like, I call it like surface area for fraud, surface area for scams, trials, business partnership fallouts. I've had like 15 business partners. I could tell so many stories, but the worst one ever was I was building a business with a couple partners, and we had a $50 million opportunity on the table. We had a term sheet, and it was significantly better than we thought we would get. And this was life-changing money for all of us. And the two partners that I had kind of like ganged up, so to speak, had a meeting without me. And they said, you know what, like, there's really not enough equity to go around. I know our operating agreement kind of, we could just rip up that operating agreement, start a new company, get those same investors in our new company with just us. They're not going to care. They barely know Chris, right? It sucks, but like, honestly, this just makes the most sense. So they had that conversation. And then in my head, I was about to sign like the best deal of my life. I was way up here, right? And then I get a text. It's like, hey, meet me at Starbucks. And I just saw the text and nothing. I had no red flags. Like there were no signs that this was about to happen, right? But I saw that text and I was like, I don't feel good about this. Why don't I feel good about this? Just something told me.
Yeah.
And like that feeling just came up and I'm like, okay. So I get in the truck and I drive across the street to Starbucks. I'm like, why aren't we meeting at the office? This was right across the street. I'm like, okay. So I get to Starbucks and I thought I was meeting with one of them. And the one I was closer with, I was meeting with both of them. Mm-hmm. And you could just see the looks on their faces.
Yeah.
And it was a longer conversation, but basically it was like, this sucks. This is wrong. We know this is wrong. We know this will ruin our friendship, but you're out. I'm like, you're out. This is done. We're doing this without you. We don't need you. And so I was just like, chip on shoulder, right? I was like, okay. That came later. In the moment, I was just like seeing red.
Yeah.
And just like driving home like this. And it was one of the worst things that's ever happened to me, honestly.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, you know, lawyers got involved. That deal blew up. And my life has never been better ever since.
Yeah, it's such a lesson. I mean, one of the things that I feel like a lot of people are scared of doing entrepreneurship because they know the big, bad, scary thing will happen.
Yeah.
Like if you're in the game long enough, you're going to get hit.
Yep.
It's just the name of the game. But the crazy part is it doesn't kill you.
Yeah.
Like it's not going to kill you. Like entrepreneurship by itself, unless you fall off a roof, it's not going to kill you. It's going to suck.
Yep.
You know, you're going to have mental scars, all the PTSD. But you know what I'm always surprised about? The people who defraud you and the people who scam you. Like we had this guy who like Chris and I, my husband Chris, were like really close to. Like met his kid and like been in his house and like knew the guy. And I thought we were buddies, but I was on the internet a little bit by then. This is like kind of at the beginning of being on the internet. Mm-hmm. And the guy was formerly in secret agency world. And so I knew, like, obviously those people understand manipulation. Like, they know how to come after you. Mm-hmm. But I just never would imagine being targeted, you know? That was like a foreign thing to me.
Yeah.
But what happens in entrepreneurship is you do get targeted, actually, all the time. Sometimes, like, big manipulation, sometimes little. And the one that stuck with me the most was not the most money. It was only a couple $100,000 that he defrauded us from. But it was that somebody could come after you with that intent. Mm-hmm. Somebody could steal from you so intensely, and the whole time you think you're friends.
Yeah.
And I think with business, what it really starts to teach you is that partnerships should be like few and far between.
Oh, yeah.
Or really set with a lot of expectations. And you've got to expect that you're going to have a breakup.
Yeah.
And then it'll be okay. And for people like that, it always comes back around.
Yeah.
Like I think it's very rare for somebody to have a ton of business success over decades and decades and continuously fuck partners and people not know, right?
Yeah.
So one of the good parts is when you partner with people who are kind of success, you're like, okay, I know what I'm going to get into. Mm-hmm. One of the lessons that I've learned is like be very careful with the unknown commodity. You know, like if you don't know them, if they haven't ever had any success, but they're the same age as you got to kind of be careful. Yeah. It's better to be the young up and comer, probably, or it's better to go with the established one. But I do think entrepreneurship can break your heart because that was one of the few ones where I was like, you know, you're just a commodity, not something else. But I think, thank you for sharing because nobody really wants to share those stories. And everybody makes themselves out to be, you know, like, it's only been great. Everything's only good.
Oh,
you know?
It's tough.
And that's not the case.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, like, let's give people some tactics really quickly. So we've already talked about some ways to find businesses. Mm-hmm. But if you were going to like have somebody leave here, you've given them 3 businesses you've given them 3 businesses you don't. If they right now are listening and they want to go find their next business to start, where would you look? Yeah. What do you do?
Where do you start? So I think that you have to put yourself in one of 2 buckets. Am I someone that already knows I love entrepreneurship? I've made my first dollar for myself. I've tasted it. I love it. Yeah. Or am I someone that loves the idea of entrepreneurship? I like how it sounds. I don't want to work. Who wants to work for someone, right? Some of those people end up trying it and they don't like it, right? So step 1 is figure out what bucket you're in, right? And then answer that question for yourself. Like, go gather things around your house that are just sitting around, sell them on Facebook Marketplace, see how it feels. Is the hassle of going back and forth with someone or meeting someone to sell a $50 dresser, is it not worth it for you? Or does it seem not worth it until you make that $50 and you're like, oh, that feels good. I did that myself, right? So start there, I would say.
Yeah. Now, what about for the person that like is already in a job? So like they're already working. they kind of maybe like what they do, but they're not like young and hungry necessarily. They're like in their career. Is there somewhere you tell people to start where it's slightly more advanced?
Yeah.
Like, is there a 202 level to start, or does everybody have to start at 101 Facebook Marketplace?
Yeah. You familiar with the Ikigai principle?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for those that aren't, it's just a Venn diagram. What do you love? What are you good at? What does the world need? And what could you charge for? Okay, start there. So if you work in dentistry, right? You know dentistry better than most people you know. So maybe you should start thinking of ideas that are tangential to that. Maybe you have a vendor that seems to be crushing it and you could copy what they're doing. Maybe you could maybe you manage your dentist Facebook ads account and you could start an ad agency for dentists, right? So start what you enjoy and what you know and what is in kind of your zone of genius and go from there. Where I see people going wrong is like they're a lawyer and then they go try to start a pressure washing business. And they're like, I don't even like this at my house. Like, what am I doing? You know? And that could turn them off from entrepreneurship just because they chose the wrong thing. They might actually love the feeling of entrepreneurship, right? So definitely start with what you know, and then test it. Like Jeff Bezos talks about the regret minimization framework, right? People don't regret things that they do typically, right? Like we regret things that we didn't do, like the jump that we didn't take. And so that's one thing that I have. I have call it like underlying FOMO. If I have a business idea that's just ruminating, I've got to get it out. Yeah. And if it fails, great, because now I know. Because I don't want there to have been an idea from 3 years ago that could have been $1 billion idea. So you're just, every year that you get older, right, the chance of you leaving those golden handcuffs just goes down and down and down. And the worst feeling is just being 40, 50, 60, 80 years old and looking back like, I should have done that. Like that job kind of sucked the whole time. Why didn't I at least try it? Like people don't have to quit. Under almost, like there's very few exceptions where you have to quit your job to start a business. Yeah. So. Yeah,
you know, the part that's really interesting on that too is like, I think most people really overestimate what happens. I'm sorry, people really underestimate what happens after you start. Like the hard thing is the start.
Yeah.
The really hard thing, because most people just will never kickstart their way. Like, again, to go to my dad, he was in real estate forever and never bought a property. I mean, I'm talking like 30 or 40 years because he was super risk averse. Yeah. And so he's like, no, I'm a deal maker. I like to get the deals. I'm like, yeah, what if you're sick? Yeah. You have to have something else that can pay you. And so it's like, just kind of get started. Yeah. And then you can see what happens. What about, I like this framework of like minimizing regret. Do you also do you have 452 businesses? Like you've done like 75 businesses to date. Do you think you have ADD, ADHD or something? Do you have a hard time sticking with one thing for an extended period of time?
I am diagnosed ADHD. Definitely have that. And it used to stress me out. I used to say, oh, Chris, shiny object syndrome, stop. Nope, this is working. I went and got my MBA just to like fight that, right? And I used to think focus is like focusing on one business. And maybe for some people that is. To me, the focus that's important is focusing on your superpower, okay? And where I went wrong was trying to do payroll and trying to do a little bit of marketing and hiring and operations. I'm terrible at operations, right? I forget payroll sometimes. That's really bad. That's really bad when you miss payroll. All right, let me tell you. But I'm really good at marketing and ideation and executing on ideas fast. So now I just focus on that. And if that's across 10 different businesses or one, it makes no difference because I'm going to win either way.
I love that because these days people all will tell you, well, hey, you should just do this one thing. You know, if instead you focused on one business, how much richer would you be? It's like, I don't know, maybe, but maybe I'd have less fun.
Yeah.
And so do we always have to optimize for return, or could we optimize for a little fun plus return?
Yeah.
So I think for anybody out there who's, you know, got a little ADD, gets distracted kind of easy, that doesn't mean that you can't be an entrepreneur. It might just mean your path looks different.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me ask that. It's probably inappropriate. What other medical diagnoses do you have that you'd like to discuss today? Anything else? Well, you said two things that I think a lot of people feel like you can't have as an entrepreneur. You're like, I'm an introvert. I actually don't like doing this. And second, you're like, I'm ADHD. I get distracted. And yet you can still be a CEO, still be a content creator, and still be pretty wildly successful. Is there why could a person listening right now not do this? What's the anti-entrepreneur? You will never make it if you have these characteristics.
Ego, pride. You don't want to look stupid in front of your friends that aren't even thinking about you. You like, it could just be like you really just don't want it that bad. You just like the idea of entrepreneurship, but you try like getting your hands dirty a little bit, and it's like, I just want a paycheck, and that's awesome. I would love to report to someone a lot of times.
Me too.
I would love to just say, tell me what to do, right? So I think if you are humble and you do really want it, like, I can't think of really any excuses why you can't do it. Because like even working hard, you don't have to have a work ethic. If you genuinely enjoy it, it doesn't feel like work, right? Like some people say people are inherently lazy. I think people need to work. I think we get fulfillment from work. Most people just haven't found the work that they love yet. So it means you have to keep trying things until you do, right? Like after starting 75 businesses, I know exactly what I like and what I don't like. But had I just stayed in one the whole time, I might not know. So I just follow the energy. If I'm doing a task that gives me energy, I just do more of that. And I think it's really hard to go wrong if you do that. You're familiar with product market fit, right? It's just like the concept that your product or service, there is a big market for it, and you know it's there because you're just like staying up all night fulfilling orders. Like there's so much demand for this. Some people think you have to have that. You don't usually have it. I've experienced like 2 or 3 times. But when I have a product or service or business that has product market fit, I'm not out there getting distracted. I don't have time. There's a selection bias, right? So if I'm distracted by another shiny object, that's a signal to me that there's something worth getting distracted over because this thing is expensive as far as opportunity cost is concerned. So if my energy is directed over here, then I should pay attention to that, right?
Yeah, it's a really good point. It's a very fair point too. I also think like most people, it's like, do you only want to do what you want to do, or do you want to do what's required? If you only want to do what you want to do at all times, then you won't make it.
Yeah.
Now you can only do what you want to do broad picture, but like day to day, you're going to have to do some bullshit.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to do that, I really think you can be an entrepreneur. It's just like, it is that mixture of like, can I become obsessed with a thing? Then can I do some stuff I don't want to do? Can I do it past a point that is reasonable for most other people? And can I continue to move forward?
Yeah.
In your religion, do you have to do like door knocking and selling?
We did during our mission for 2 years. Yeah.
So you kind of learned hard, difficult, salesy things. How old were you then?
19. In Hungary, Eastern Europe.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Do you speak Hungarian?
Yeah, a little bit. I still got some left.
Wow, what do you got?
Jó napot kívánok.
That sounded great.
Thank you.
What did you say?
I just put a little deeper voice on and no one can tell the difference. I just said, how are you? Hello, how are you?
Wild.
Yeah.
And so do you think a lot of your entrepreneurial chops come from doing hard things like that really young?
Oh, 100%. I was like, in high school, you know, I had a single mom. She was a waitress, and I had bad grades. I was not motivated. I was not driven. I was not valedictorian, 3.0 GPA, stupid stuff on the weekends. But after knocking doors in Eastern Europe in a foreign language for 2 years, and I added up how many times I got rejected, loosely, because we would knock on doors all day, every day. And so if you add that up, like X doors per day, it's like 24,000 times. Rejected to my face. Okay, this isn't like a mean email. Like, I don't want what you're selling me. When you do that for 2 years and you come home, I just remember sitting in my room after coming home thinking like, I can freaking do anything. Like, and I will. Like, this is America. I can do whatever I want. Because I met a lot of really smart, kind, talented people over there that had no opportunity. They could not get ahead if they wanted to. And I was like, I can do whatever I want here compared to Hungary. And so I've just been trying to do that ever since.
Did you convert anybody with 24,000 no's?
11.
Whoa.
Yeah. So how's that
Which also
conversion
seems
rate?
like a lot. Like if you believe you're saving souls, 11 is a lot. That's more than me. But that's a tough ratio.
It's tough.
So
Yeah.
do you think, like, will you make your kids do the same thing or ask your kids if they want to do the same
We
thing?
encourage them to.
Yeah.
But I can't really force them to do anything, you know,
Yeah.
especially once they're 18.
You just model it.
Yeah. But the thing is about those 11 people is I learned after a while, like, it was all for me. Like, it sounds selfish, but I served that mission. I thought I was serving others, and that became a byproduct of what I was doing. Really, I was served the most in serving them.
Yeah, I get that.
Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. It's my favorite reason for why we host workshops here. Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense to do, like, with the scale that we have, to bring 100 people in here, teach them about business, but we've been doing it for the past 5 years. Like, why would you do such a thing? Because it's actually really selfish. Like, when you meet the people at the end, and in the beginning, and I remember one of the guys, I won't say his name, but he, like, have you ever looked at an entrepreneur? You can tell they're going through it. Like when you are with a CEO buddy and they're having a tough time in the business, I think it's often physical. Like you can literally see it on their face. And so he had sort of these, like, I guess it's shingles, like hives sort of. And I was like, what's going on with you, man? And it was because he had a, what is that called? Where you go and check a house to see what it's worth.
Oh, appraiser?
Yeah, geez. Okay, so he was a home appraiser. And by the end of 2 days, we kind of figured out that he was really selling to the low end of the market. He was taking everybody. So he was making, it was your 3PL problem. No profit, too many clients, lots could go wrong. And they really didn't value his service very much. So it was always a price negotiation, right? So but by the end, I'm like, are you good at this? And he's like, yeah, we're very good at it. I'm like, why don't you just put like luxury home appraisal? Just like optimize for SEO on that. You're a luxury appraisal company now. Did it. He's like, oh my God, I doubled my business. Plus I have half the number of clients. And he started looking healthy. Now, that is awesome for him. I'm stoked about that. But like, I was so excited. I'm like, look at the help that I could give this dude doing it. And I think people don't realize that entrepreneurship can really be that.
Oh, it's
so
amazing.
I think it's a real service what you do, because now you're talking to, how many people are following you on the internet now with all the sauce you're given?
I mean, I don't even track it, but like 3.62 million. something
I
like
barely
that.
know.
So I don't track it.
And where do you like people to follow the most? I like your Instagram and your Twitter. I try to stay off X as much as possible, actually, because it can be a cesspool. But you have great X and Instagram. Do you want to tell them where to find you?
Yeah, my podcast, really. The Kerner Office, spelled like my last name.
Yeah, well, spell it because they're never going to get that.
Koerner.
There you go.
tkopod.com.
I actually thought it was Corner up until this very moment.
Well, I don't do myself any favors.
The Corner Office is really, so it's the Kerner Office because it looks like Corner.
I'll accept both of them.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you for being on here. Thank you for all the secrets that you share about entrepreneurs. And I think this episode is going to be really useful for multiple people out there who are stuck in their own way and they might just break through. So if you give them a follow all across the interwebs. And if you guys start a business or if you grow one because of this, tell us. We will get you something special in the comments. Come back. We will patrol this for the next couple months. And if something cool happens, we'll make sure we give away some merch to you. Maybe we'll even get an original Buc-ee's something that Chris did simultaneously. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
You do not take enough risk for the amount of money you say you want. And small business acquisition is also the fastest, most overlooked way to build wealth in America. I want you to visualize yourself in this because this could be you. You could be Codie. And not this Codie. He bought a business where he was with what he had. Then he took it to grow it. Hi, I'm Codie Sanchez, and welcome to the Big Deal podcast. You want to get rich? Build relationships with people in finance. They understand the game of money. I'll give you 7 acquisition terms you should know to speak their language. But before we get into that, I want to share this quote with you. Michael Jordan didn't wake up early because he loved mornings. He did it because mediocrity felt like a personal insult. He wasn't chasing balance, but meaning. Discipline is dragging your half-dead body to do what you hate. No one writes about the semi-committed. And with that, let's jump into these 7 terms that will make you some money. And you got to stick with me, even if you hate the word finance. The first one, free cash flow, or FCF. If you're going to be obsessed with any number in your business, it should be this one. It's the cash left over after you've paid all operating expenses and capital expenditures. Another way to say that is building improvements, vehicle purchases, anything you buy. So we're going to take your operating cash flow minus your CapEx. Net profit, aka net income. It's the total earnings profit calculated after subtracting costs from revenue. Costs here equal cost of goods sold. So depreciation, interest, taxes, and all other expenses. This is the true profit. Like this.
There are 2 types of businesses, a cash suck business and a cash flow business. Here's the difference between the 2. Cash suck, you provide the service, then you get money. Cash flow, you get the money, then you do the service. You only make money maybe 1 or 2 times a year. Cash flow business, lots of little checks continuously, ideally subscriptions. So you have 2 big clients. If they leave, you're in trouble. Cash flow business, you have lots of clients, which diversifies your risk. You use RFPs and custom products so that every time you deliver a service, it looks different, a lot more work for you. Cash flow business, your service is productized, so you deliver the same thing again and again and again. This business that does $1 million in revenue and this business that does $1 million in revenue are not worth the same thing. You want cash flow businesses, repeatable, predictable, de-risked businesses, not cash suck businesses.
Working capital. See this as the cash you use to fund daily operations. Current assets minus current liabilities. Current assets equal cash plus inventory plus money owed by customers. Current liabilities mean accounts payable plus wages payable, plus money owed to suppliers. Accounts payable equal the things that you have to pay. Wages payable equal the money you have to pay your employees. And money owed to suppliers is for things you have outstanding, maybe like vendors. EBITDA, the gold standard for talking about true operating profit in deal making. It stands for earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. It ignores non-cash expenses, financing, and tax deductions. It's used to calculate what a business is worth. Let's break it down like this. What are the 3 things you need in order to value a small business? First, profit and loss statement. How much money is coming in? How much money is going out? I care about net income, how much money you make that goes in your actual pocket. 2 is tax returns. You want to match up what the owner says they make, aka their P&L, with what they pay the tax man. Because guess what? They're probably not overpaying the IRS. So you know at least that business makes what they said that they make. Third, understanding of the market. What do these things trade at? Small businesses typically trade at anywhere from 2 to let's say 6x profits. So if your small business has 100K in profits, you should be buying it for 200 to 600K. With those 3 things, you're about 80% to where you need to be to know how to value broadly a small business. The devil in the detail is the 20%. Valuation. You'd use this to determine the sales price of a company. It's often calculated as a multiple from EBITDA or SDE, seller discretionary earnings, or profit. Let's say the multiple for auto shops is 3 times EBITDA. The business has an EBITDA of $50,000, then the valuation is $50,000 times 3, that's the multiple, equals $150,000. Next is LBO, aka leveraged buyout. It means using money borrowed mostly from other people to buy a business or do a deal. Similar to how you pay 20% down and borrow 80% from the bank to buy a house. Private equity does this, but for businesses, basically the same thing. The assets of the company are often used as collateral to secure the funds. Next, we got seller financing, where the seller acts as the bank in a deal. You pay them over time at a lower interest rate than a bank, using the profit from the business you buy from them. It's rare, but possible to get a business for $0 using this method. And small business acquisition is also the fastest, most overlooked way to build wealth in America, owning boring, profitable businesses that everyone else ignores. If you followed me for a while, you know I give away about 90% of my playbook for free $99. I make YouTube videos, I write books, I give talks around the country, I have a newsletter, I host this podcast, which you subscribe to, right? right? But there's a reason thousands of people in our community have gone from employee to owner. It's because they got access to the missing 10%, the step-by-step blueprint that uses all of these terms to actually get deals done. So for those of you interested in that last 10%, this September 19th through 21st, I'm hosting Main Street Millionaire Live. 3 days, virtual, where my team and I are going to walk you through exactly how you find, buy, and scale the right business for you. We've put in over 10,000 hours testing this stuff. And after helping more than 9,000 people become owners, we're opening the vault. This is the closest thing you'll get to sitting next to me while we do deals together. So as you listen to this episode, think about it as an appetizer. If you want the full meal, the actual blueprint to financial freedom through ownership, go to msm.live. That's Main Street Millionaire .live, MSM Live, to reserve your spot today. If you click the link in the bio, you get $50 off. That's 50% off the cost of coming to MSM Live. It's like less than a latte, which is ridiculous for you guys to learn how most people get rich in the world. Also, I want to end on this other thing. I just heard an acquisition story that basically made my heart melt. I want you to visualize yourself in this because this could be you. You could be Codie, and not this Codie. This Codie was a 6-year veteran, number 2 at a production company in California, runs the show while his boss lives in Utah. Here's how he went from someone else's employee to becoming an owner of a business in 90 days. Codie landed on our content about ownership. He was 12 years building somebody else's empire. And he'd been leading operations at this production company. At the time, Codie and his wife had been saving for a house, so it wasn't like they had tons of cash lying around. But after having a chat, they decided to use their house fund to buy a cash flowing business instead. Not an easy task, but this happened to be when I launched my 3-day business buying workshop last year. So he attended the whole event, and he shared that those 3 days gave him the tools and the confidence he needed to get to work. And not my words, but his, that's how he bought the business. So as soon as the live event ended, Codie started hunting for deals. He looked at laundromats, a couple other business models, but none were prepared to offer seller financing, what he needed. Props to him for not giving up. And after tons of rejection and people telling him to pound sand, and it would be impossible to find this in Southern California, he eventually landed on Pool Roots. Now, Pool Roots isn't your typical business acquisition, but for context, you only purchase the client base, not the whole business, which is cool. So this caught his eye and he reached out to the owner. The listing description was like 40 pool route generating $70K annual, seller asking $60K for it, $36K down, $24K seller financing, 0% interest. Guess what Codie's savings were? $36,000. So the seller was retiring and was looking for his next thing. He wanted somebody who'd actually take care of the business, not just extract cash and run. Codie's military background plus genuine interest in learning the industry gave him this credibility. So in 2 weeks, the deal moved from handshake to close. Why so fast? Codie had a tiny window at his job where work was slow. So here's another smart move from Codie, not quitting his job. Don't go all in until you're cash flow positive. So it took him a few months to figure out how to start making money in the business, and now he has a business that's profitable. 3 months into the business, here's what he has accomplished. The route grew from 40 to almost 50 pools. Monthly revenue, $7K. Monthly payment, $2K. Codie's take home, somewhere between $4 and $5K monthly profit while learning the business, which is really impressive. The best part is Codie's already thinking like an owner, hired and training a pool tech, future operator, building systems so he can remove himself from operations. He wanted to hit 150K ARR by the end of the year. Not only that, he has plans to own the entire pool cleaning supply chain. So he's thinking, all right, I'm gonna buy some routes. Then I'm gonna buy pool supply stores. Then he's going to add on new services like calcium removal or reverse osmosis machines. Those make a lot of extra income because they're bigger projects. Also makes his business more defensible. What I love about Codie's story is he had the guts to bet on himself, and he didn't have to go huge and buy a giant business. He bought a business where he was with what he had. Then he took it to grow it. I love this story because Codie did the thing that most of us just talk about. You want to know a hard truth? You do not take enough risk for the amount of money you say you want. So do the risky thing. And also, if you're not subscribed to this podcast, hit that fucking subscribe button. This sounds a little woo-woo maybe to people. Follow your energy, follow your flow, but you're also a doctor and you have a very scientific and straightforward mind. And you have a book full of not just your feelings on this, but also some data behind it. Like, what does the world say about this? Is it true that if you follow where your energy goes, you can actually be more productive? What have you found in your studies?
Yeah, so this was a huge part of the research component of the book. trying to figure out like, intuitively, I had this feeling that, when I feel good about my work, I'm kind of more productive at it. But that kind of goes against the whole like discipline narrative. You got to do shit that you don't want to do even when you don't feel like it. There's that quote from Muhammad Ali where he says, I suffered every day for 10 years, but it was worth it to live life as a champion, or something like that. And I always thought of that quote and I was like, I don't want to suffer for 10 years to live life as a champion. Maybe some people do, but I feel like, in the modern world, a lot of us realize that suffering for 10 years for the sake of some outcome on the other end, you'll sort of kind of regret the 10 years of suffering. And so I went on a huge rabbit hole of research around this. And there's this researcher called Barbara Fredrickson, who in like 2001 came up with this theory called the broaden and build theory. And basically the idea is that positive emotions, feeling good, ultimately drive productivity and creativity, and they reduce your stress. And the theory behind this is like, if we think back to caveman times, when like imagine positive feelings and negative feelings. When you have negative emotions, that's like, oh shit, a tiger is about to eat me. I'm about to get ostracized from my group. Everything closes down. You become very, very focused on that threat, and you can't really think outside the box. You're just focused on like, how the fuck do I get away from this tiger? That's what negative emotions do to us. They like spike our adrenaline and cortisol levels. They increase our heart rate. They increase our breathing rate. They have this, it's like when people get angry in a conversation with their partner, you feel that, you start seeing red and you feel that agitation. Now, if we take a breath and we think positive emotions, what do positive emotions mean? Positive emotions mean you're safe. It means you're in a connected environment. It means, you feel like you have a bit of control over what's happening in your life. And it means that you're not getting mauled by a tiger or about to get, ostracized from your group. Now, when you experience positive emotions, the mind broadens and you start being open to more possibilities. Your peripheral vision starts to become more focused. You start to then explore new areas to be like, okay, I'm feeling chill right now. Let me go explore that cave over there. I'm feeling chill right now. Let me see if I can find some seeds in that new forest over there. And so you broaden your kind of the actions that you do. And the second part is build. You build cognitive resources, you build relationships with people, you build skills and you learn things when you're feeling good. And we find that, if they've done so many studies where you bring people into a lab, you split them into two groups, and you ask them to do the same like task of creativity. And so some sort of creative task. And one group, you just give a little chocolate bar before the task. And the other group, you give nothing. Or one group, you show them like a film, a sort of 10-second movie that evokes positive emotions. And the other group, you show them nothing, or you show them like a sad scene. You find that the people who have been primed to feel good are more creative and more productive. And if on the studies they've done where they measure their stress levels and, heart rate and stuff, you find that they're a lot less stressed as well. So feeling good, following our energy, positive emotions, all of this stuff sounds a bit woo, but there's so much evidence showing that if we can feel good about our work, it makes us more productive, it makes us more creative, and it makes us less stressed. And it also gives us more energy, which we can then apply to the other important things in our life.
For writers and creatives, we often talk about priming, right? I know before I write, I like to go read some of the greats. Like I'll read Charles Bukowski and I'll read just a few of his lines because not only is there a positive feeling, but maybe some of that greatness rubs off on me. And it feels the same with productivity, perhaps. On our team calls, one of my big pet peeves as a leader is if people start a meeting or end a meeting, low energy. I think if you are in charge of the vibe setting of a meeting, you want to bring them in and you want to come in and be like, what are we doing today? I'm so excited you guys are here. You're spending your life with us on our mission. What a treasure. Thank you. And then at the end, this is where I think a lot of leaders really mess up, is at the end, they just go, okay, well, anything. Okay, see you guys later. As opposed to having something put aside specifically for the end that's a little bit of like a call to arms. Because people don't really remember the beginning, but they will remember the end. And if you want to be the one to prime your team to do more, then you want that to move forward. I've noticed a couple of things being friends with you, that you integrate this into your life consistently. For instance, the mic check. Tell people what you do on a mic check. Does the internet know about this?
Yeah, so when I'm doing a mic check, I will either sing or I'll recite lyrics from a song. So earlier today, we were doing a mic check. I was like, somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. Or before I'm filming a video, I'll either play some like energizing music in the background, or I'll grab the guitar, which is often next to my filming setup, and I'll just, sing Budapest by George Ezra or something like that. And my team will just be looking at me being like, yep, there he goes again. But it's a good sign because it means I'm about to film a video, and priming myself into that state of energy. People like Tony Robbins do this before they go on stage. They like have a little trampoline, they jump around a bit. And And for people who are, a bit cynical, like mostly I speak to Brits and they're all very cynical. It's like, what is this bullshit? But actually, the state that you're in has an enormous impact on how you show up in your work and how you show up for the people around you.
Yeah. Well, you think about it this way. My husband was a Navy SEAL for many, many years, and they're huge on priming. And so before they go to war, there's a specific set of sort of things that they usually do, including usually really aggressive music that's sort of like played, throughout. There's a lot of like camaraderie, joking. A lot of them do a workout before they go out, because you're sort of like feeling strong before you go out in sort of something that you want to be strong in. And so even those who are hyper cynical, if you can imagine that somebody who's going to war does it with the highest price, when you are doing it with your everyday, that seems to make sense.
2 years ago, I started waking up at 3 a.m. and I want to kill myself. Underneath all of it was this belief that I'm not enough. The reason I'm bringing this up is it's the most important thing anyone can do who is suffering is...
If you think that you don't have mentally what it takes to lead a company, this guest is going to prove you wrong. We're talking to Blake McCoskey, who built Tom's, but maybe you don't know that he started out probably just like you and I. No cash, no credentials, and started not one company, but a ton of them.
After I sold Tom's, I got super depressed. I built like what I think is the perfect company. I gave 100 million children shoes. I made more money than I ever could imagine. And I felt empty. No matter what I did, no matter how much success I had, I just never felt that I was enough. When you feel enough, you have so much peace because then you can actually just be. In 3 days, we sold $100,000 worth of laundry services. Boom! Everyone signed up.
No big deal. That's wild. How many times do you think you've been rejected?
You can think of any celebrity that has had a mental health challenge. I have cold called every single one of them now. And I only have 6 founding partners.
You want to call one of them out publicly? One of my favorite things about you, actually, that I didn't know is what you're not famous for, actually, which is all these other businesses that you started. And a lot of them, you didn't even have a lot of money. Some of them, maybe you have money today, but you don't use money as like the main driver for growth. No. So I wanted to ask you, for somebody listening today who wants to start a business, but thinks, I don't have the cash to do it, I don't have the credentials to do it, what would you tell that person?
I mean, first thing I would say is I often think a startup having money is like a detriment. Yeah, like I never have raised money in any business I've started. And I've always felt like if you can bootstrap it and prove and get customers and make it work, well, then you have, a better chance of success. But I mean, Tom's, the entire company was started at $3,000. My laundry business I started for $500. My online driver's ed company that I started maybe was, $1,500. So like I've never actually the one business that I started that didn't work, I spent a couple $1 million starting it. Now that I think about it, yeah. I started a habit formation company called Made For with a good friend of mine, Navy SEAL, amazing. We had Andrew Huberman as one of our advisors. Like it was locked and loaded, and I put $3.5 million in it. 0 today. Yeah.
I love that because we bootstrap all of our companies.
Yeah.
And I kind of think the same thing. It's like if you put a bunch of fuel on a fire that's going the wrong direction, it's not very good.
Yeah.
Were there things that you believed back then that now, through multiple exits, selling a business for 50% at a 600 mil valuation, multiple businesses you started, that you're like, that was such a lie that they told me starting out in business, and now I know this to be the truth?
I think one of the things is that I don't think that having experience in an industry makes you more likely to have success. Because when you have experience, you kind of know the rules, so you don't have like the courage to break them. And you're limited. You already start with a set of beliefs that are limiting the innovation that you would have. Like I started, a cable television network, no experience in that. Driver's ed company, 0 experience in that. Tom's, obviously I'd never made a pair of shoes before. I was down in Argentina, enough. I mean, now like I've never made bracelets and accessories. Like, so I actually think that's one of the biggest lies we're told is small businesses or entrepreneurs, is that you need to have experience. And then the second thing I learned, which I learned very much the hard way at Tom's, is that once you grow and you get to a certain size, you need experts. That's the biggest bunch of bullshit ever. I mean, literally, like the number of people that I brought in to Tom's later, like once we were like a couple $100 million business that quote had like big company expertise did not help. If anything, it affected the culture in a negative way, caused more complexity. They wanted to bring their own systems in, their own teams. It created like way more overhead than we ever needed. So you don't need a lot of experience to start. And if anything, having experience might limit your innovative thinking. And then if you are lucky enough to build something that really starts scaling, when they start telling you like, oh, you need to bring in this expertise, I don't think it's true. And I think my sister's a great example of that. My sister, runs Aviator Nation, and, she owns 100% of the company, has never brought in, quote, the experts. And she and a small group of really passionate people built an incredible brand.
Yeah. What did your parents feed you guys? Why are you both so successful? That's so crazy. I mean,
and my brother too. My brother has, a lot of people know, my brother has this amazing online golf company called My Golf Club. And basically it allows people to get by far the lowest prices of any golf equipment on the internet. And it's through a membership model. And so he hasn't been as like well known in the media, but he's also crushing it.
What do you attribute that to? Like, what is it, parenting or genetics?
Yeah, I think our parents were like always just like, if you can believe it, just go do it. Like we didn't have any fear growing up of failure. And I think maybe because, we grew up, my dad was a doctor, my mom was an author, she did very well, he did well. Like we had a nice safety net. So a lot of people don't have that. A lot of people, don't have the luxury of just going for it. But also, I just think from a psychological perspective, our parents were always instilling confidence in us and always, encouraging us to like really go for what we believe in.
Can you remember a moment where like it really made you who you are as a kid because of what your parents did? Like, were there moments where you...
my mom basically put my dad through medical school. And then... years later, I think I was 15 at the time. My sister was like 11. My brother was like 7. She decided she wanted to write a cookbook. And she was like, you know what? I have this idea for this cookbook. I think it'll help a lot of people lose weight. It's about cutting the fat out. It's good for your heart. This whole thing. She had, didn't go to college, had no experience writing books. Like my dad bought her a word processor at Walmart. And she wrote this book and it became the #1 best-selling cookbook in America for 3 years. Wow. And she made millions of dollars.
So it's like, just do things.
Yeah, just do things. Just like if you have an idea, just try it. And so I think that really created that entrepreneurial spirit in my brother and my sister and I.
Yeah. And you've told me, even just our short time hanging out here, a bunch of stories about how you get people to get excited about a product or business without having a bunch of cash, which
Yes.
I love.
Yes.
So like, I want to talk about, you were talking about 2 companies you're interested in right now. And one of them, you're like, how we're going to get everybody into this. And then you told me your strategy. Will you tell them the strategy for the chair company?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the best things to do for a company is to try to find a way to be integrated into natural conversations. And it's also it's also this thing that like Seth Godin, the great marketing genius who I love, he writes about the purple cow. And the purple cow is, it's like if you're driving down the highway and you're looking at cows and then you see a purple one, you're going to stop, you're going to take a picture of it, you're going to tell everyone. So it's got to be remarkable. So first off, when you're starting a business, like if the more your product itself can be remarkable, but then it's like, how do we naturally integrate it into where conversations are already happening? Mm-hmm. So this chair company is called the Pivot Chair, PVOT. Okay. So Pivot Chair, these guys are engineers from Nike. They're there for like 30 years and they realized that sitting is the new smoking. Like we were way too sedentary. And so they developed a chair that it's the only chair in the world, and they have all these patents on it, that literally has 2 axis points. So it moves this way and it moves this way. And so when you sit in the pivot chair, if you're not prepared, you'll fall over. But if you're prepared and you engage your core a little bit, all the pressure goes out of your lower back. And it's like the most amazing experience ever. You can sit in it all day. It's not like it makes you sore, but it engages you enough that it's the equivalent of thousands of steps. And everyone's looking to count steps, right? And so what my idea to them was I was like, guys, like, because we're getting ready to do an investment round, the company launches in July. And I said, I think the only people we have invest in this next round are podcast hosts, because they sit in a chair a big part of the day. And then their guests sit in the chair. And so rather than them have to like do an ad about it, just have the guests sit there. And for the first 5 minutes of every conversation, it's going to be, what the fuck am I sitting in? And then naturally you're going to talk about like why this is so good for us. And so that's an example of like taking something that might be hard to explain. And that's when you need lots of money for marketing and advertising, and just letting someone experience it in an environment that's naturally going to get people talking about it.
Yeah.
And so and like we have no marketing budget for that company. We don't need it because it's just, if people sit in it, they want one.
How do you come up with ideas like this that don't take money, but just creativity? Like, do you have a creative process?
I think the creative process is, I just love people. I love talking to people. I love meeting strangers. I love asking people what you think. I love playing pranks on people. Like, I mean, just anything to do with people. And I feel like the more I'm around people, the more ideas get generated. What doesn't work for me is like sitting in in an office trying to figure it out, or like having endless Zoom calls, because everyone's posturing, whatever. Like, it's actually like, let's just get out there and mess with it. Like, for instance, when I launched the Enough bracelet, what I did was I just started giving them to people. And saying, look, like, I really struggled with not feeling enough and for many years. And this has been like a daily reminder for me. And I'd just love for you to have one and just see what happens. Or ask people like, who in your life helps you really feel enough? And they start opening up. My mom. Okay, here's one for you, and go give one to your mom. So like, and then we had all these ideas about that. And then that leads to, well, what if every person that receives one now has a little code on the packaging where they can scan it and send one to someone else?
Oh, that's cool.
So what a great marketing idea, right? Like, everyone that wears a bracelet is also a giver of a bracelet. And now it just goes on forever. But that wouldn't have come had I not been like on the street, like passing out bracelets, talking to people.
It's such a good point, because I think in this age of AI, everybody's really worried about their job and what's going to happen. And will somebody take this away from me?
Yeah.
And one of the things that I think lasts is something you talk about a lot, which is really taste and creativity, right?
Yes.
And so like, you're obviously a guy with taste. You're like cool dressed. Yeah, you got all this stuff. Tom's was like, one of the first cool shoe companies I remember.
Thank you.
And so I guess my question for you there is like, does everybody have taste? Can you develop taste as an entrepreneur? Can you hire people with taste?
I definitely think you can hire people with taste. Like, I feel like when I'm meeting with someone, I kind of know if they've got it or they don't.
How can you tell?
Just their personal style choices, their attention to details, their Instagram. I mean, as silly as that sounds, like, even to that to some degree, I mean, it's gotten a little bit harder because everyone's so hyper focused and everyone kind of follows what everyone else is doing. But originally, early day Instagram, like back when like I was running Tom's, 10 plus years ago, Instagram was a great way to see, like, when we were hiring people, like, because it's interesting. Like, they say, like, if you really want to know someone, look at their camera roll. It's like, what are they actually taking pictures of? And if they're taking pictures of like cool architecture or like a really cool restaurant or whatever, even if they're not posting it, it's like, that's how you can kind of see what are someone thinking about, And I think a lot of taste is also about curiosity. Like, taste, I don't necessarily think, actually, I would change this. I care more about someone having a sense of style than taste. And I don't care if it's my style or not.
Yeah.
Like, they could be hardcore cowboy. Great. But if they lean into it and like that's them, I respect that, or they're really into, vintage cameras and like that's their thing. And they've got this camera and they tell you exactly about it and why they had this leather strap and what this viewfinder does. Like, that's a sense of style. Whereas taste can be a little bit kind of like following whatever's cool in the moment. But I'm more interested in style because that tells me independent thinking. That tells me curiosity. That tells me confidence. That they don't care if everyone else has their style, So yeah, I think that's something that's a little bit more interesting to look at when you're looking to hire someone. Because if someone has a specific sense of style, I think that can be applied to other styles. So like, if they're very specific in their personal style, then they can figure out like what is the right style of how we want to, merchandise or stack these bracelets.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, it's funny. I was actually talking to David, my podcast producer, because I was like, I gotta get a little bit more swag. Like, I was like too serious, because I'm ex-finance, and he is known for, hopefully I can say this publicly, sometimes you'll paint your nails. Now the internet knows.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah. And
I've painted my nails before.
See, I was like, David, I don't know about that. I was like, I don't know if that's what and he was like, listen, bud, you got to get cool. You got to get on my level.
I pay in my,
nail painter?
the reason I did it is for years I was trying to stop biting my fingernails.
Okay, that's reasonable.
And so I thought if I paint them pink and green and all these random colors, then it like brings like a conscious attention to them. And if I have attention to them, I'm not going to want to hurt them.
Yeah. Did it work?
That didn't really work as well. but it did make my kids think I was like super embarrassing, which ultimately that's why I stopped doing it, because my daughter thought it was cool when she was like 4 and 5 and we went to get manicures. Now that she's 8, it's like if I painted nails, I'm not invited to any school assemblies.
We're talking about all these incredible things you do with business and these big businesses you've started, but there are a bunch of businesses nobody, I don't think, knows that you started. And so I want to talk about them in a couple different ways. One, I want to talk about Easy Laundry, which you hit on.
First business.
Yeah. Tell me about the business. How much money did you start it with and what happened?
$500. I I tore my Achilles tendon.
Oof.
I was a tennis player in college. I was on crutches. So all of a sudden, I couldn't carry my laundry to the laundry facility, which is in the bottom of the dormitory. So my laundry is piling up. I can't carry them down. My roommate's kind of giving me a hard time. We go home for Thanksgiving. His dad was an entrepreneur. I didn't know what the word entrepreneur was at this point, right? Yeah. My dad's a doctor. My grandfather's a doctor. My uncle's a doctor. My aunt's a nurse. Like, my whole family's medical. And his dad, we were talking about the fact that I couldn't do my laundry. And he said, well, you should just have someone, come and pick it up. And I was like, I looked in the yellow pages, and this is how old I am, right? So I looked in the yellow pages.
Which, by the way, was a directory of listings like the internet back in the day.
Yeah.
Remember that?
For anyone who doesn't know what it is, it's basically, imagine if Google was printed.
but literally.
But local. Yeah, local. So anyways, I told him, I was like, I looked in the yellow pages. There's no fucking people to pick up my laundry. No one will do it. He's like, that sounds like a business opportunity. I'm like, a what? He's like, because I'm a jock. I'm just a pure tennis player. That's all I do. And he's like, I think you guys should start a laundry business.
Oh.
And I was like, he's like, yeah, people would. I went to a school, SMU in Dallas, a lot of rich kids.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I think you charge a lot of money for this.
Great.
So literally, we go back, we buy a FedEx truck for $500. An old, literally doesn't work. We had to get the engine replaced, but like the shell of an old FedEx truck at like a junkyard, $500. We paint on the side, Easy Laundry, red and blue, and we decide to start going around to fraternities and sororities and like pitching our services. Now, I've never even done my own laundry. I grew up very sheltered. My mom was like Miss Homemaker. So like, I'm like now figuring out how to like hire people to do laundry in the middle of the night at these places. And we just figured it out. It's amazing. I was like 17, 18 years old.
How'd you sell it?
It sucks doing your laundry. And so, if you pay us this, we'll come pick it up every week. But here's the whole thing. And this is and I really hope if someone takes from this podcast, this is like such one of my first, most important lessons of marketing. So we had this great service for, I don't know how much it was, like say $20 a week. We'll do all your laundry for you. Okay. No one signs up. I don't think we had one customer. We went to fraternities, sororities. First off, the sororities are like, we're not giving you our panties back. Like, this is the last thing we're doing. They all knew me.
They're like, not this
way. They're like, yeah, exactly. Not this way. But so the sororities were like, this is just no way. And then the guys like, what are you doing? Like, why are you playing golf or goofing around and drinking beer? Like, you're doing people's laundry. Like, just the kids who needed it weren't the customers. But who was a customer? Their parents. And the parents who were the most the customer was the incoming freshman. So we sold no laundry services for a semester. We go home in summer. We're thinking about basically quitting. It's just not working. And then we get a booth at orientation for the next year. In 3 days, we sold $100,000 worth of laundry services. Because the parents assumed when they got there, you buy the books, you sign up for the laundry, you get the meal plan. Boom. Everyone signed up. They even questioned the price. It was nuts. I dropped out of college, never went back because of this moment in my life.
Because of laundry.
Yeah, it was the craziest fucking thing. Like literally, we just had the right pitch to the right customer. So sometimes you have the best idea, you're just selling the wrong person.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the kids, even though the kids are the ones who are benefiting from, I don't know why, they weren't the ones that were thinking they wanted to spend $20 on it when they only have so much money for beer or whatever. But their parents were thinking, my kid has maybe never done their own laundry, or if they have, they don't do a great job. And I just bought the books for, $900. Might as well spend $500 a semester to make sure they don't ruin their clothes. And boom, $100,000 in sales, 3 days. Next day, I call my dad, drop out of college, never go back.
It's so smart. Well, it's true because these days I feel like people overcomplicate marketing so much.
Yeah.
They're like the demographic, the avatar, the
Hate
analysis.
marketing.
Right.
People hate when I say that too. I just made some real enemies already. I know. I put this on Instagram the other day, and like 4 people that worked for me in marketing at Tom's reached out. I'm like, really? Really?
Like, I hate you
After I helped you
in
build
particular.
a $600 million business, you hate marketing? Come on.
But it's true because
No,
it's
I
like,
just don't like the formal concept of marketing. I think when you're trying to like concoct a way to convince or manipulate someone to buy something, it's just not what I'm about. Like, it's like, no, like we were giving something great. We just, once again, right place, right time, right? Goes back to the chair. Like the chair, if we get the right people to sit in it in an environment where a lot of people see their amazing kind of remarkable experience, it'll spread like wildfire.
what do you call that? Like, have you named that? Is that like trigger point marketing? Is it like, because I think that's a really useful framework for people to think as opposed to, I spend X percentage of my revenue on PPC with Zuckerberg,
I think it's like showing the utility. I mean, even with the Enough bracelet, what's been really fun is, and I know I keep referencing it, and eventually we'll have to talk about it, but
100%.
but the thing is
Talk
like,
about it now.
it's really about the utility of like, so it's not even the fashion of it, or it's not even like that will raise a bunch of money for mental health charities. It's like, what does this actually do for someone? And so, so anyway, so I've just launched this, and it came from my own journey. After I sold Tom's, I got super depressed. And actually, even before I sold Tom's, I started to get depressed. But it got much worse when I sold it because I thought, okay, once I sold it, I have all this money, all this freedom. I could live in the mountains. I'm going to be so happy. And then I wasn't. And then I was like, oh, shit. Now what do I do? Like I built like what I think is the perfect company. I gave 100 million children shoes. Like, I made more money than I ever could imagine.
You're friends with all the celebrities.
Everyone is, every single thing. I mean, covers of every magazine for a while.
Yeah.
And I felt empty, and I felt like I didn't really know what the second half of my life would be like. And the depression got worse and worse over 7 years, as we talked about. It got really, really bad a couple years ago. And in part of my healing journey, my therapist really helped me see that underneath all of it was this fear, this belief that I'm not enough. And it started when I was young, and I tried to feel enough by winning tennis matches. Then I tried to feel enough by starting businesses, then starting a business that would help people. But no matter what I did, no matter how much success I had, I just never felt that I was enough. And then after I did everything that the world tells you will make you feel enough, and I still didn't feel enough, that's when the depression, because it was like I didn't know where else to turn, which ultimately forced me to go inward and learn me and help me really realize and heal this idea that I'm enough, you're enough, we're all enough. But our culture lies to us all the time and tells us we're not enough. And if in social media is great at showing you and making you feel comparison to everyone else and how you're not enough. And so I decided after I started feeling better about a year ago that I wanted to help people feel enough. And my best friend told me to make a bracelet because he's like, I have all these tattoos, right? So they all have these different sayings. Like one says, be present. One says, do the work, speak the truth, enjoy the ride, carpe diem. And so he's like, instead of getting an I am enough tattoo, which I can see that's what you're getting ready to do, he's like, most people aren't going to get that tattoo. So why don't you create something that everyone can participate in? And you like bracelets, why don't you make a bracelet? So went to India, got these bracelets. They're handmade by women in India. And the idea is it's just a daily reminder just to look down and kind of be like, I'm enough. I've always been enough. And like, fuck everyone that tells me that I'm not enough, because so much of that pressure is coming from all around us. And when you feel enough, you have so much peace because then you can actually just be, and you can be present and you can be connected. And so the utility of this for me is, that it helps remind me, but the utility of this for someone else could be different. So for instance, 100% of the profits from Enough goes to mental health organizations. So a lot of people I know that are wearing the bracelet now are wearing it because just they want to raise money for mental health. The same way like the Live Strong bracelet raised money for cancer, right? They're like, no, I know someone that struggled. Maybe they lost someone to suicide, and they're like, I'm going to wear this in honor of them or to raise money. And that's why they wear it. But we're giving the utility. And so, yes, I talk to my story and I share other people's enough stories, but also I show that like there's utility to this. And then the other thing, which at the end I'm going to give you one, is I'll show you right now, a little teaser, is we only sell them in pairs. Yeah. So when you buy one for yourself or you're given one, you get to wear the first one, but then you get to think, who in your life do you want to give the second one to? And so that's utility. So in terms of this, I would call it utility marketing. Like, I really think that's the thing, is like, what utility does the Enough bracelet do for people besides raise money for charity? What utility does the pivot chair do for someone who's sitting all day, who might have back pain and who wants to live a more active life? What utility did the laundry business do? For those parents, the utility wasn't even the clean clothes. Utility was the peace of mind we gave them.
It's so true.
So think about utility.
Speaking of insane marketing ideas, did I ever tell you one of my favorites? I actually started my entire business with a newsletter. Literally sending emails built my entire business from 0 to 9 figures in 4 years, which is wild. So if I could recommend you one thing, it would be to start a newsletter. Write about anything in the world that you're curious about, your business, your customers, your ideas. And my friend Tim Ferriss is on Beehive, and he writes an email each Friday literally only about his 5 favorite things. I actually switched all of my newsletters to Beehive because I wanted to grow. And so they help me see where my audience comes from, who reads, how to send stupid, simple, but like beautiful emails. And then the growth tools are all totally built in, which works for me. So it recommends my newsletter in front of other people's audiences. So I'm finding readers I never even would have reached. Now, I'm obsessed with this team. The founder, Tyler, is literally the most relentless, mission-driven founder. Just like Blake, actually. He's the most relentless one I've ever worked with. It's fascinating to watch their team. They ship product and features and solve every issue that I have come up. In fact, these little wizards just spun up a new landing page for me in 2 days because my other one was terrible. So if you want to share your ideas with the world and make money on it, go to beehive.com/Cody and use code Cody30. You'll get 30% off 3 months. That's beehive.com/Cody for code Cody30. Also, drop your newsletters on Beehive when you start them in the comments. I want to see what you guys are writing. I'm looking for new ideas and brilliant people, and I'm hoping more people like you get into this game of newsletters, because it very simply changed my entire life. Again, that's Beehive with 2 E's, 2 I's, no third E. What? You guys will figure this out. You'll remember Beehive, won't you?
You know what we should do? If somebody's listening right now and you have your business, but you don't have your utility marketing, why don't you comment for us? And I'll pick one and send it to you.
Deal.
And then we can give them a response.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be sick.
I love making videos.
Okay.
I tell my team all the time. It's like, you want to get a hold of someone? Just let me make a video. Like the other day, it's so funny. Our PR person was trying, when we were launching Enough, he was like talking about how we wanted to launch it. And then Gayle King came up. And I was like, I was on the CBS show with Gayle King like a decade ago. Let me just make a video. And he's like, I'm like, trust me. Hey, Gayle, it's Blake. 10 years ago, you helped me launch Tom's. I'm launching Enough. I would love to come on the show. What do you think? Sure enough, we launched it with Gayle King. Yeah. Like, sometimes the simplest thing is just make the video, ask the person to buy it. Just like it's simple things.
Yeah, we definitely don't ask enough. That is for sure. Yeah. And I think—
Can I say something to that?
I would love that.
No, because this is something that I feel so grateful for in my life right now. So when I was building Tom's, you talked about celebrities involved. We had a lot of celebrities, a lot of people supporting Tom's. But I felt so much pressure whenever I would go to a meeting or pitch someone like, will you wear our shoes or whatever, because my personal identity was tied to whether they said yes or no. So every rejection, which you're going to get a lot of rejections as an entrepreneur, was like personally painful. So it caused me stress, anxiety, all these things. Now, because I really do feel I'm enough, whether you like the bracelet, whether they like the bracelet, whether anyone likes the bracelet, I know that there's someone that this is really going to reach and is going to touch them, that now I have no problem asking anyone anything, because if they say no, it's no big deal, because it's not my personal identity as whether they like it or they say yes or whatever. And so that's been so fun for me, because now as I'm going out to different, Kid Cudi is one of my partners. I cold called him.
No big deal. That's wild.
Cold called him. Literally, I, had a friend that knew his manager, and I had read about how he had really struggled with mental health, had suicidal ideation, like a lot of the same shit that I went through. And he just seemed like a real, genuine guy. And so I talked to her, and she's like, I can get it in front of him. She got in front of him. A day later, he's like, hey, can I do a Zoom with Blake? All of a sudden, I'm Zooming with Kid Cudi. And then a week later, he's one of our founding partners of Enough.
Yeah, that's
But
wild.
if he would have said no, I wouldn't even thought 10 seconds about it. I would have been on to the next.
Well, you know what else is cool? I just learned this. Like, you can go to IMDb, sign up for their premium thing, and see every single famous person's agent.
Yeah,
and go
they
ping them.
hate this. Yes.
Yeah, they're gonna like delete this part. Yeah, whatever. That's your job. That's why you get paid the 10 to 20%. Go with it.
Exactly.
But I think the cool part is, and what I hope people take away is that even though you've had this huge career and you've built all these big businesses, these are actually little micro things that anybody in the world could do.
Oh,
because how many times do you think you've been rejected? Like in your life?
Just with enough. I'm not going to put some celebrities and athletes on
a blast
or their agents, but like you can think of any mental health any celebrity that has had a mental health challenge that has talked public about it, or any Olympic athlete that has a huge platform about mental health. I have cold called every single one of them now. And I only have 6 founding partners. There's hundreds of them. So that means that I'm still waiting to hear back from agents of hundreds of these people who say mental health is the most important thing in their life. And I'm saying, you can help us raise tens of millions of dollars by just wearing the damn bracelet. Nothing.
You want to call one of them out publicly? That is, but I think that's the game.
Yeah.
So I think,
you know what I'd like to do? I want to give you a list. And in the show notes, because I don't want to call them out, but I'm going to say, this is my top dream 30 people to be ambassadors of enough. So if anyone is watching or knows their manager or knows them, because all these people, it's not like I'm asking them to do something they're not already doing.
Yeah.
They're already saying, I really care about mental health. I got through this. I want to help other people. So in the show notes, I'm going to give you my list of my top 30. Hopefully someone can get us to one of them and we'll have a new founding partner.
I love that. That'll be huge. All right, let's go, YouTube. I like this. Okay, I also want to talk about you seem to have this, like, I don't care, fuck all these people, fuck whatever they think. But you have had numerous, like what my dad would call dark nights of the soul.
Yes.
Where you have like looked at the darkness in the face that I think all of us have felt, either just as a fucking human, but also as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be interesting. I don't know which one you want to share, but like, I'd love to hear about a night where you just head in hands didn't know what to do next, and then how you got through that. For maybe the person that's listening right now with their head in their hands.
Yeah. I mean, I think the scariest thing for me was when I started getting depressed, and then it got worse, and I started trying to do all these external things to, built the dream house, moved my family to Costa Rica, got divorced, got remarried, got divorced again. Like, I did a lot of things to mess up my life. And there was a time, and in doing that, I, had I didn't have as close a connection with my kids, and I then went to a psychiatrist who told me I was bipolar, and then I got put on all these meds, and I mean, like, my journey went from bad to worse to worse to worse. To 2 years ago, I started waking up at 3 a.m, and I wanted to kill myself. And it was so fucking scary because I knew logically I would never do that to my kids. Like, I knew, but I couldn't stop thinking, like, go to your boat that that you lived on when you started Tom's. That was your happy place. Do it there. They'll never find you. Someone else. I mean, like, that's the level of detail. And I was dealing with this every single day, and I was keeping it. I was so ashamed because, like, look, I have money, I have a wife at the time, I have kids, who am I to want to leave this earth? And so I wasn't telling anyone. And the thing I did, the reason I'm bringing this up is it's the most important thing anyone can do